It is said that luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. My name is Tobias and welcome to Australian Hunting Backcountry, a platform where we will focus on all things around hunting in the backcountry, not just in Australia and New Zealand, but everywhere that backcountry hunting is possible. Every hunting trip should be a journey of learning, so join me as we explore gear, tips, techniques, hear lived experiences and discuss the unique places that backcountry hunting can take you. I appreciate you coming along with me as I try to increase our knowledge and help us seek out opportunities so that we might have better luck in the backcountry. For 2025, Australian Hunting Backcountry is proudly partnering with Nature's Perks and Gun Traders Australia. Nature's Perks, your gateway to the outdoors. Lawson and Jesse, the team behind Nature's Perk, are passionate about sharing the joys and benefits of hunting and fishing. They offer a range of membership options which give you opportunities to win amazing gear, learn from the best, experience unforgettable adventures and exclusive member perks. Your membership enters you in regular gear giveaways to win top quality hunting and fishing equipment. You can enhance your skills with their comprehensive hunting education courses available both in person and soon online. Your membership will include exciting draws for guided hunts and fishing charters, creating memories that will last a lifetime. And you can gain access to unique opportunities and experiences that are available only to their members. Join the Nature's Perks community today and unlock a world of outdoor adventures. Visit naturesperks.com.au to learn more and choose the membership that's right for you. Gun Traders Australia is a family-run, secure online platform for firearm enthusiasts across Australia to buy and sell firearm parts and accessories. The guys there are dedicated to fostering a community where responsible firearm ownership is paired with exceptional service and access to premium products and trusted providers. What sets Gun Traders Australia apart is a modern and user-friendly online platform with reliable search filters, making finding what you need even easier. The server is hosted right here in Australia, ensuring fast and reliable access, and a payment portal that is also proudly Australian-based, providing secure transactions without any information stored offshore. Check them out at guntraders.com.au.
That's good.
All right. Welcome to this episode of Australian Hunting Backcountry, and we're coming to you from the Victorian backcountry, undisclosed location at the moment, not because we're not sure where we are, but we're just going to keep the location to ourselves at the moment, just because sometimes you do get criticised for posting where you go hunting. So long-time listeners will know the dulcet tones, sweet New Zealand vowel mispronunciation of Jason from Liquid Antler.
Tobias, what an introduction. Thank you.
You like that one?
Oh, I did, mate. Thank you very much.
I was thinking about that today. When you gave me that homework to do, I thought about other things as well. So.
Yeah, no, very nice. And yeah, it's great. We're, like you say, we're in the middle of Victoria at the moment and kind of sitting around a fire.
And to my right, a young man who's new to the whole backpacking scene, but not new to the hunting and not new to our team. Blake from Venture Folk.
Hello, thanks for having me on again.
Very, very welcome. So we thought we'd just do a podcast while we had a nice night sitting around the fire. We're just waiting for some big lumps of timber to burn down into some coals because we have some cooking to do. So we're all looking forward to that. But we thought we would just do a bit of a hunt recap and then a bit of a general chat about some of the topics that we've sort of already spoken about and just didn't have the recording gear on. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start today and work backwards, or do we want to start at the start?
I reckon start at the start and kind of, I suppose, roll through from what are we now, day 6, I think, since we first kind of entered into the bush. So yeah, 6 days in, and we've had our ups and we've had our downs, and it's been a I don't know, quite a challenging hunt at times.
I think that's what we'll put it into scope when you start from the start. Really, it will really show sort of where we're at now, mentally and physically.
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, if I could even go back a step further to the sort of planning around this hunt. For us, it was really about going and exploring some new territory, having an adventure, obviously spending time in the bush with some mates, having that time in the bush as well, testing ourselves, testing our gear, and then down the list there's hopefully coming home with a trophy stag. But in terms of importance, that certainly wasn't up there at the top of the list. And we've had a couple of conversations about that, about what we judge a trophy to be in terms of a hunting trip like this, because it's quite often not the animal that you take.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you summed it up there, Tobias. It's often more about the adventure, us being out here. Like you said, new country. It's just cool to be out exploring, and even if we have had a little bit of success along the way, it's been good. But it's all about the adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the trophy definitely can mean a lot of things, can't it? Whether it's meat, a nice set of antlers, or just an adventure.
Just the experience, exactly. Yep. So spoiler alert, we don't have a sambar on the deck yet. In fact, I think the best part of the sambar we've seen was the rear end of a departing one the other day. Yeah, not to be deterred, we pushed on and we found a location that we think is going to yield some animals. There's certainly some sign around. The weather, I think, has also played a part in what we were hoping the weather would be versus what the actual weather is. But yeah, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. So backtracking to, we all got together, Brisbane, met up at the airport, checked in luggage and firearms. So Blake and I are travelling with firearms. Jason chose not to. He's just hunting with his camera on this trip. And Blake, what was we flew Qantas, what was the experience like for you at check-in with a firearm and ammunition as dangerous goods?
Yeah, to be honest, it was quite easy. Flying with ammunition, obviously you have to fill out a little bit of paperwork online, but that lasts for a year. So once that's all done, you just have a printout or save it on your phone and make sure it's locked in a case in your suitcase. And firearm, obviously disclose that you're carrying a firearm, and they help you check in. And yeah, very simple. Nice lady, they're all really respectful, and I think that's a big point, is you treat them kindly and don't be a bit of a dick. They're going to look after you. So very smooth. Checked in, probably faster than everyone else, to be honest. But checked in, and away you go.
Yeah, having dangerous goods and a firearm does give you a bit of advantage, because you can skip to the front of the queue a lot of the time. So they tend to push you through, because the firearm has to go on as excess baggage. So you got to go to a different part to check that in. Yeah, flying was all good. It was quite windy, so it was a little bit rough. The flight was delayed slightly, but we spent some time in the Qantas lounge, living it up, eating all the free food and drinking the coffees. Unfortunately, the Qantas lounge doesn't serve alcohol until after midday, so because our flight was at 11:40, we couldn't have a beer. But that's neither here nor there really. Landed. Checkout was pretty much the same when they eventually found our bags, because what we found out they'd done while we were waiting for the carousel was they had put our suitcases with the ammunition on as dangerous goods, which they didn't do at check-in. They must have done it at some stage of the process, and so therefore it got put in a different area, and we had to go and collect it manually rather than it coming out on the carousel. So we were a little bit worried at one point there when our suitcases didn't arrive, and we were the last three blokes standing at the carousel.
Yep.
But yeah, got that sorted and picked up the hire car and on our way. So from there, first stop was a quick catch up with Chris Burns from Skeleton Optics and Chris Burns Photography. So obviously Skeleton Optics are a partner of the podcast, and took the opportunity to reach out to Chris and cross paths with him while we were down his way. So yeah, very generously Chris came out, bought us all a beer, sat down, had a bit of a chat.
Yeah, it's good. Just nice to meet him and have a chat with him, and kind of pick his brain for a few bits and pieces too about his experience down here in Victoria. So yeah, it was good catching up with him, and before we cruised on out of Melbourne.
Yeah, no, Chris is a great guy, isn't he? He's very experienced and obviously pretty good behind the lens as well.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Chris had hunted not far from where we actually are now. So yeah, he gave us a few pointers. So yeah, finally good to meet Chris in the person. I've spoken to him and Danielle a number of times on the phone and email exchanges, and yeah, that was the first time I got to meet him in person. So that was good. And then yeah, we hit the road and got ourselves out of Melbourne as quick as we could. Thankfully, we didn't run into in any real bad traffic.
No, it was actually pretty smooth sailing. I was a bit worried, but yeah, we were ticking along even.
Yeah. And made it to Warragul for the first stop, which was where the Deer Expo was held. That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last May.
Last year, yep. Drove into town, and lo and behold, unbeknownst to us, the windstorm had knocked out the power for the town. We were all pretty hungry, and it was getting late by then, so we just had to go and find somewhere that was open and able to cook. And unfortunately, they failed to disclose to us that their FPOS machine was down. So after the meal, went to pay, pulled out the credit card, and found out that they needed cash. So fortunately, Blake found an ATM around the corner which was working, and good old cash is king. So there's probably probably the first lesson out of travelling interstate like this is probably doesn't hurt to have maybe a couple of hungy in the wallet just for emergencies like that if something happens, or if you happen to be somewhere where we're coming into regional areas, so it might be likely that the internet's down or something like that, and you want a meal at the local pub. It's always good to have a couple of $50 notes there to
Get you through.
Rightio, what happened after that? Where did we end up then?
I was in Sale for the night, so we carried on through to Sale and spent the night in Sale. Woke up pretty early, and it kind of gave us the opportunity just to go through and get all our packs squared away. So we pretty much loaded from Brisbane all our gear plus majority of our food, so it was pretty well go through, get the packs all squared away, ready for our hike in, and just kind of do a bit of a weigh up, and I think then it was pretty much do a couple stops, grab some brekkie, and then get back on the road for a couple more hours.
Yep. We dropped into a couple of gun shops. So first one in Sale, wasn't it? The H&S Firearms?
Yep.
Dropped in there for a bit of a bo peep and grabbed a couple of things. Had a bit of a chat to the staff there, told them what we were doing. So they were very friendly and offered us a bit of advice. And then on to Bairnsdale next, wasn't it? Yep, Bairnsdale. Dropped into Gun Sport Trading.
Gun Sport Trading, that's the one.
Yep, and grabbed a couple of things that the H&S Firearms didn't have. Again, had a bit of chat to the bloke behind the counter there, bit of a look around. I always seem to do some damage to my credit card whenever I walk into a gun shop, so I was very reserved. And
you're looking out for those bit of reloading gear there, wasn't there? You're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, had my eye on a bit of stuff there, and
managed to buy some stuff though, didn't you?
Yeah. It was on the in my defence, it was on the discount table, so I got it at like
pretty much giving it away.
It was 40% off. It was too good to go
Basically
past.
free.
Yeah, I can't walk out of a gun shop without spending money. So yeah, and then from there, breakfast at a dodgy Hungry Jack's. Actually, it wasn't too bad, in all fairness.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Yeah, it was quick, cheap and easy, and that's what we needed. So
we were just eager to get into it, I think.
Yeah.
Just hit the road and
And we
ready.
still had a couple of hours to go, so yeah, we were pretty keen to sort of hit the road and get to our launching location. So, were there any other hiccups along the way, along that part of the...
To be honest, it was really smooth sailing from our time out of Brisbane all the way through there. It was a pretty good run.
Yeah, there was no hold-ups at all. Grabbed the brekkie and hit the road, and I think that was the thing, is we didn't know we were going to stay that night or if we were going to make it before dark and stuff, so we were rushing a little bit to get on the road and have some brekkie, coffee and get going.
Yeah, well, we kind of booked the accommodation on the run because we didn't know how far we were going to make it and how long we were going to be with Chris, and yeah, we didn't sort of want to rush and have to drive 6 hours, ended up pulling up at midnight. Nothing's worse than arriving at the first day of the hunt and, would have been strung out and tired, so...
Yeah.
But all in all, we mapped our way in, got to where we wanted to go, found the right location, and she was on with the packs. And do you remember what the pack weight was to start with for you, Jason?
Mine, so I wasn't taking a rifle, was 32 kgs.
32.
32 for me, yep.
And how much of that was camera gear? Did you weigh that separately at all?
I didn't, but it would have been probably about 2.5 kgs at a guesstimate.
Yeah,
So.
all right. And yeah, Blake, what was yours? Do you remember?
I think mine was 29.5.
And that was with the rifle?
With the rifle strapped to the side of the pack, yeah.
All right.
And food and everything, obviously. At that stage, we even put water in the bladders, so I had 3 litres of water as well. So, which I was concerned because it was my first, what would you say, multi-day pack-in.
Yep.
So I was a bit concerned considering Jason didn't have his rifle and I was still lighter. I was thinking, what have I forgotten?
Yeah.
But, like the food was the main thing. I probably went a little bit lighter.
I think that was definitely one thing that impressed Jason and I was how light your food was. Normally you sort of account for about a kilo a day in food. And I think we had 7 or 8 days worth of food.
You only had about 4.5 kgs, didn't you?
Yeah,
4.5 kilos, yeah.
So 6 days in, how you think? Well, what's your thoughts on your amount of food you brought in? Was there enough?
No, there wasn't. Like it's enough to survive. Like eat. A couple of bars for lunch, a bit of a brekkie, a coffee, and a dinner. But just the amount of calories you're burning, you just can't replenish it. I just need those in between snacks, between brekkie lunch sort of thing, or lunch dinner, where you can just sort of snack on and it's definitely enough. It's just
bare minimum, no luxuries.
It's just no luxuries. It's just bare minimum. It's just the bones of it. So, which jumping ahead a little bit, but a few days to go, I've got some luxuries because I was strict early on because I was worried that I'd get to the end and be out, so had to stay strict.
Yeah, no, you did well. Like I said, Jason and I were both shocked when we weighed it. We actually thought something was wrong with the scales, and we went and measured something and worked out that they were actually correct. So.
What about you, Tobias?
Yeah, what about you?
I think I was 31.5, wasn't I?
No, I thought you were about. No, I think you were 31.5.
Yeah. And that was without the packraft in, but it was with water and rifle. So and podcast gear too. So
that's good effort.
Yeah. I worked hard after that trip you and I did. Jace, I worked pretty hard to really refine things and get it down as much.
And you were a bit like me, weren't you, Tobias? With because what was your pack weight before? Like 48 or something silly?
Oh, that last trip that Jason and I did, I think I was.
You had a giant case and
was 40 something.
You had a sink in there, I think.
You're probably 10 kgs heavier, I reckon, that last trip.
Yeah, it would have been 10 and a bit, I think. Yeah. So anyway, the packs were on. Short walk to start with. Some of us were half dressed, inappropriately dressed. because I chose to float the pack raft across my undies. So for those of you that end up watching the YouTube video that Jason's going to produce, a fair warning, see me in my bare legs and underwear. But yeah, pack raft, got that in the creek, and got it sorted.
Yeah, what a cool piece of kit. I was pretty amazed how easy it was to set up, and
just how light it is too for the
yeah.
quality. Like it's pretty heavy duty, like the material, and packs down into what would you say, like a sleeping bag size?
Yeah,
Bit bigger
roughly.
maybe?
Maybe a little bit bigger than probably a synthetic sleeping bag size.
Yeah,
'cause
like
they're
your standards.
Sort of longer than you can compress a down one, but yeah, I forget what the weight was off the top of my head. I think it might have been 1.9
Yeah,
kilos.
it's definitely under
like
2
that.
kilos. Yeah.
Plus, I've got a carbon fibre paddle. Well, the shaft is carbon fibre, fiberglass fins. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun actually. So we basically just sort of shuttled the man and then shuttled the backpack across, bit by bit, got everyone across the other side, and I was really impressed with how stable it was
yeah.
too.
I was a little bit worried actually when we first got it, when you first mentioned it, how stable it was going to be, but just perfect.
Yeah.
No dramas at
You're
all.
saying a few guys in the States carry out some animals.
Yeah, so I've seen the Gritty guys. They did a trip to Alaska, and I can't remember if it was a moose or a caribou off the top of my head, but whatever it was, they shoved, because obviously there you've got to have full meat recovery.
Yeah.
So they shoved a whole animal up inside the chambers of the pack raft, and then zipped it up. It's got a watertight, airtight zipper on it. Zipped it up, blew it up, and floated out of there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so over the other side, and then it was all uphill from there, basically.
It was. So I think we probably hiked for about an hour and a half, roughly, to get to our first kind of camp spot for the night.
Yeah.
Well, to paint the picture, it was like, 2-hour drive, pack raft across, then a couple hour hike.
Yeah. Starting to get late in the afternoon.
Late in the afternoon, that's why we didn't know where we were going to sleep. So we set up camp after that. And
Yeah, we sort of just picked a spot because of the hour a day, and we had a bit of glassing for the morning. So yeah, that sort of was where we threw the tents up, and I think we were all pretty happy to hit the sack that night.
Yep.
There was no doubt about it. And
we did actually manage to see an animal that afternoon.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
We saw our first doe.
Yeah.
So a fallow doe was spotted late in the afternoon or late into the evening.
Yep.
Just in that last light.
just cruising along a game trail.
Yeah. Yep. So first deer was seen for the trip.
yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't the target species,
No.
but this area does have fallow deer in it, which we've seen, and there's also quite a few feral horses in here too. So not sure if that plays a part in why we're having difficulty seeing salmon, but we'll probably touch back on that again later on. Yeah, so next morning, got up, did some glassing, and we really weren't happy with what we were seeing. The country just didn't look sambery. It looked very arid, devoid
Extremely
of feed.
dry, wasn't it?
It was very dry.
Yeah.
Some parts, you could have been looking at the surface of Mars.
Very red and dry, and not much feeder out at all.
So yeah, packed up and moved on. And now one of the issues that we came across at this point was water, sourcing water. We carried a bit in, and the hope was that we were going to come across water along the way, whether that was in a creek that we could walk down into, or a soak or something like that. There's no snow where we are, so we knew that wasn't going to be a possibility. But got to I think it was about 2 o'clock-ish on day 2, and we realised that we really needed to focus on getting some water because we were all getting low, and we definitely didn't have enough to last another day.
And we're almost getting a little bit worried, weren't we? Because there just wasn't any sign of any kind of water or potential creeks in proximity where we were.
Well, every creek crossing we got to that was like little stream crossings, that was just rocks, just dry. Walk down them for a couple of 100 metres, just dry everywhere.
For some rock pools or something. But
yep.
And we even got the drone up at one point and flew it along a creek bed to try and find something. But what we did actually find was, we did find a water source in the end. Unfortunately, the horses had been into it, and horses being horses, I don't have a lot of respect for horses. The water was a bit, how you going? So we found an alternative source anyway, and Jason, I don't know how you do it. Like Blake and I are pretty sure that Jason self-identifies now as a mountain goat. This man volunteered to go climb down this hill, source the water, load up all the bottles, filter as much as he could carry, and then bring back as much dirty water as he could carry as well.
I felt like a water mule.
Yeah. What did you bring back though? Like 17
litres. Yeah. I managed to get. So I managed to find the water, which was good. Filter it down where I got it. But also the other positive, I actually managed to run into a fellow buck on my way down. So I was cruising through and came to an area that started, kind of screamed deer to me. So I slowed it right down. And managed to see or find a fallow buck bedded down. Initially probably about 100 metres out, and I actually managed to close myself into about 20 metres before. My goal was just to see how close I could get, because like I said, I didn't have the rifle for this trip, it was all with the camera. So that was a little bit of a reward of being the water mule for that little exertion.
Right, it's still like 4.5k or something, you said, Chase?
It was pretty decent. It was a good
up
grunt
and down.
up.
Yeah.
I was pretty wrecked by the time I got back.
Yeah, and some cool footage of the fallow buck as well, little black fallow buck.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so anyway, that definitely lifted our spirits then. I wouldn't say that morale was getting low, but we were certainly getting concerned, and we were sort of contemplating that we were going to have to walk back out to the river that we'd crossed just to load up some more water and as a last resort. So it was good that we didn't have to do that. And we ended up camping in that spot then.
We did, and I on that last flight that evening, I did manage to spot 2 more fallow bucks and a doe. So definitely early signs were showing a lot of fallow within the area, and we just weren't really seeing any sambar sign, I suppose, that we've traditionally seen before.
Yeah.
All the droppings we found, all fallow, weren't they?
Yeah. Fallow rubs all around the place.
Yep. Just the little wattles and smaller thin trees, just thrash trees.
There's a few
scrapes and stuff. Yeah, little cutting stands, scrapes.
Yeah, a few good scrapes, like good fallow deer sign. Some of the best fallow deer sign I've seen. We had to come all the way to Victoria to find a fallow. But the freaking horses through this area. There's piles of horse shit everywhere.
And the trails and that they make, they just
massive,
crazy,
massive pads through everything. Really, really destructive, unfortunately. So, and again, we just weren't happy with what we were seeing in the country we were in. So, it was back onto the maps, and
the plan was kind of hatched, wasn't it, for the next day?
The next day, that we had plenty of water. We all had to carry our fair share of water. Although I think Jason, again, you carried more than your fair share, but we were all stocked up. So next day, day 3 was a big day. That was a big day, that one. What did we? I
think morale was high. Just so I suppose morale was high when we left on the start of day 3. We kind of had planned out our route and kind of, I suppose, thought what we were hoping to get to, but
definitely plateaued.
Yeah, I suppose early into it, we soon were in a pretty big grind, up and up, wasn't it? It was just a grind all day, pretty much, just uphill.
We went. What did we work out? We went
8 point.
Yeah,
something.
Which doesn't sound much, but 650 meters up.
Yeah.
And about 6 hours.
and with heavy packs.
on the poles.
And it was stinking hot.
Oh, it was. That was the other thing. It was just you expect to come down to Victoria and it's going to be nice
Yeah.
and cool when it was just hot. It was
Look, I
just
bought my thermals, a big puffer, everything.
Yeah.
And
I
I was in a thin merino base layer
Yeah,
all day.
I haven't even taken my down out of its pack at the moment. The pants and the jacket are still sitting in there. So yeah, that was a grind that day, and we didn't get as far as perhaps we were hoping for. And again, where we got to, where we were talking about camping, then water was another issue, which we were okay for that day, and probably maybe the next day.
be touch and go. They'll
But-
be very conservative.
Yeah.
We're already starting to really trying to conserve the water.
Yeah, so that was another issue. So we had two options, and we ended up deciding to not camp there for the night, the top of that hill, and head right down the bottom into a creek and hope like fuck that there was water in the creek.
And I think we're also coming to the realisation that we weren't seeing much sign up high. There wasn't the feed there. It was so dry that we had to kind of potentially push lower in search of where these sambar could be holding.
Yeah, there was very, very rare segments of sambar sign.
Yeah.
Not enough to keep you interested in the area. So
But also to move areas, you got to go up. You know, we had to go up and over a couple of times just to get to what we felt was a decent spot. To then, obviously, being hiking all day, you're sweating a lot, you're drinking a lot more, and chewing through our 17 litres. That when we set up camp that night, I think we did a stock count, and we had a couple of litres.
I think we had
each.
2 litres each.
2 litres
So
each.
basically going to last us the next day.
Yeah.
And
So the next day was make or break. We either had to, we were planning, well, that night, day 3, we camped on that kind of little saddle.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a day ahead,
Yeah.
aren't I? We didn't come down to the creek.
No, we'd come partially down.
Yeah, we came partially down, set up, and the plan was the next day to go down to the creek and hope that there was water. Yeah, so yeah, I think that was probably a real low day for us at that point in terms of morale. We were.
we had the 40-kilometre winds as well.
Oh, yeah, we had that.
Which luckily where we camped, we were tucked away a little bit, but it was blowing a gale, and we had no water on the.
And we hadn't been seen deer.
And we hadn't seen deer. So yeah, we were a bit low.
Definitely.
We
100%.
smashed out after that. The big hikes, we pretty much passed out after our meals, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had a feed and straight to bed, and woke up to the worst wind we've had. You know, since they had the big winds come through.
Yeah, I woke up about 1 o'clock-ish, I think, and the ferocity of the wind outside was incredible. I actually stuck my camera out and filmed it just to try and capture it and capture the noise of it. But actually, one tip that I will mention at this point, Blake, that you passed on to us was to put your earplugs in when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And that was particularly useful that night because we had that wind thrashing around and so forth.
Yeah, I think it just, you'd probably do get a little bit worried with the stick or a branch coming down on your tent and stuff, but we were in a really good area. It was just the noise. So I just popped in the earplugs.
Yeah, we'd made sure that there weren't any widow makers around us.
Yeah.
And worst that was going to happen was maybe a branch gets blown off and, pokes a hole in the tent or something, but not cause bodily injury, so that's always a good thing. Yeah, so next day was a bit of a slow start. We sort of didn't, we did a bit of glassing on the way after we packed up camp, but we weren't.
Back of our mind, though, was the whole water situation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was either going to hopefully get down onto water, otherwise we had a big hike to potentially get to a main river.
Yeah, we would have had, like a 4.5, 5K hike over some pretty rough stuff. So and then like 2 litres to get there, so we would have been running very dehydrated.
Yeah, but thankfully we made it down to this creek, and with a bit of searching, I found an old wallow and thankfully Jason went the other way down the creek and found a nice little rock pool.
No, that was Blake. That was Blake. He was
Blake.
he was like a bloodhound for the water that day.
I was really thirsty, and my lips were starting to go all dry. And we went down this dry creek bed, and I just kept pushing. And Jason was sort of with me, and I just ran ahead a little bit. And I think that was the best feeling.
Oh yeah.
Finding.
Morale was back.
The boys,
the boys were back.
Yeah.
I've never been that excited over a bit of dirty water before in my life.
It actually had a slow trickle going through.
It had a slow
Yeah.
trickle. It was clean for what we saw. It was better than your wallow.
Definitely.
But we were going to drink it if it come to it. But,
I was prepared to drink that wallow, I can tell you.
Yeah.
That's what
But,
filters are for.
But we were very happy that night because we were loaded up that little rock pool, wasn't it? It was nice and clear rock pool.
Yeah.
And to add, Tobias has got the all the filtration system, so we're not, we're filtering the water, and it's very, very, very good
Yeah.
system.
One of the downsides though with filters is that it doesn't remove any taste in the water. So if you are drinking from a stagnant pool like a wallow or something like that, and there's a bit of a flavour to the water, it doesn't get rid of it. There are tablets you can get to throw in that will remove the taste, but then it imprints some sort of chemically chlorine-y sort of flavour as well. So, but thankfully the water was really good. So.
Yeah, it was really clear.
And that was
Tasted
also
fine.
our first run-in we had with snake number 1.
Yeah. Yep. Snake number 1.
So Blake managed to come across a decent sized
Almost trod on a
snake while we
whatever it
were
was.
down there filtering that first lot of water.
big brown nope rope.
Mm.
And yeah, come straight back, and we loaded up all the bladders, and we got drinking. I think we cheersed a bit of water out of a rock pool.
Yeah,
It was a good
we came
moment.
back and gorged ourselves with water then.
Yeah.
Good moment.
Yeah. So that was definitely a mood changer in camp. Noticeably happier. Everybody was on a high again, talking, laughing, that sort of thing. So it was just an interesting observation of how something like that can make or could have, like we said, could have make or break the hunt really. Because if we had to walk out back to the river, who knows. So we've set up down here now in the creek bed for a couple of days because we found some pretty good country to glass, and not a huge amount of sign, but enough sambar sign to keep us interested. And so in between spotting horses and spotting more fallow, we've been looking for sambar. Unfortunately, other than the one that we saw that was sort of departing from us the other day, unfortunately, we haven't laid eyes on one yet. But again, whether the weather has had something to do with it, because it's been quite warm. We haven't had any real cold weather yet. I mean, we had, what was it supposed to be, 3 or 2 degrees this morning?
Yeah, it was cold this morning.
Yep, but not a frost.
No, still not.
So, we sort of had to think about it and change tactics and sort of hunt like a hot weather hunt more than a cold weather hunt. And like we said, there's just seems to be horses everywhere, and they just seem to be eating the place out of house and home. So whether that's had an influence as well, I don't know if they compete with the sambar for food. I don't think they do. I think sambar are more of a browser, so they're not as reliant on the grass that the horses might be. But that's
It's a little bit unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, the sort of browse seems to be a little bit scarce here as well for them too. So there are definitely deer here though. We can, from the recency of some of the sign, it's just a matter of...
Fair few rubs about, isn't there?
Yeah, rubs. We found a bit of droppings. Found some old wallows, some prints. Although there's some cracking big pigs in this area too. So
a lot of pig rooting around the place.
Yeah, a lot of pig damage too. Yeah. yeah, so other than that, we've sort of been just chipping away and glassing, and then more glassing, and then more glassing, and then a little bit of walking, and then more glassing, and that's pretty much where we are. So now coming back to today now, I guess. Was there anything else up until today, up until this morning that I've left out?
Not really. It's been hard work. It's been really hard work. Just putting in the hours and covering country and just trying to, work out where these potential sandbar could be. So just had very little luck. So it's been, just a lot of hard work and a lot of Ks covered, but not a lot of success until today.
And look, hot days, wind, they're bunkered down a fair bit. So we were just hoping for that cold morning, get them out in the sun. Just to try and get some eyes on some country, really. And luckily we have found a decent spot to glass, so you get a fair bit of visual from up where we are. Yeah,
it's a great glassing spot. We've got plenty of visibility and plenty of country that we can see. There's just nothing to see at the moment, except for this morning. So we stalked our way up to the glassing spot, and straight away I spotted the Judas fallow, a meanle buck, standing out in the open. I could see him with my bare eyes from 500 and something metres away, and very quickly we located another 2 bucks there. And Blake, it's your story from here.
Yeah, so I guess a bit of buck fever kicked in, didn't it? Very early. It was a bit of a panic. We sort of looked at them, and I think because we're, day 5?
Day 6.
Day 6, sorry, I'm losing track. Day 6 of the hunt without seeing anything in terms of sambar. And we saw a little bachelor herd of fallow bucks floating around, and we sort of kept looking, and at 2 of them sort of weren't really shooters, but there was one standout one there that was a bit of a shooter. So I sort of looked at the boys and I sort of thought, might take a shot at this guy, and I was pretty confident.
You were pretty keen though. We were all pretty keen to see you shoot him.
Yeah.
He's no record book stag, but given what we've gone through,
exactly,
and the challenge then of the shot, it's by any standards still a trophy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that was the thing is, after the hard work, we sort of wanted something, and we did want a little bit of venison for the fire as well. We're a bit hungry and we wanted some meat, and he just presented an opportunity, and he was broadside at 510 metres. So with a really terrible angle, we clicked on Tobias' Spartan bipod in the medium. I've only got the short, so I couldn't quite get that angle, so I clipped on the medium bipod, and the Alpine accuracy backrest, and I sent a
dialed up the scope.
Nice and easy.
To 510 metres, and I squeezed the trigger off, and he pretty much was a good hit, and
it was 2 good hits.
It was 2 good hits.
It was indeed.
It was 2 good hits. One on the deer shoulder and the other on my forehead. Got a little bit of a scope bite from the angle and the 7mm. Gave me a little bit of a love tap.
Just a little love kiss.
Love kiss on the eyebrow, and
But cracking shot, Blake. It was absolute cracking shot, mate.
Yeah, 510 metres, and he went probably 10 metres. We filmed it, so I'm sure you'll see that on Jason's YouTube channel. So Liquid Antler.
I got to watch it through my spotting. Knocked my microphone. I got to watch it through my spotting scope. So I watched the bullet vapor trail all the way to the deer. Boom, right in the shoulder. Saw him hunch, run down the hill carrying one leg, and then I sort of lost him in the treetops. And so I couldn't tell whether he'd gone down or where he'd gone down, but I was very confident that it was a good hit, and I think I expressed that very, very clearly.
You did.
Yeah, you did in the video. Yeah.
Might have to do some bleeping.
Yeah.
Aren't you MA15?
Yeah.
No, it was a good hit. Just unfortunately, there was no flat ground up there. I was literally laying down prone. I tried to elevate a little bit with my Tatonka pack. Set up the bipods on that. It was just a bit wobbly. At that distance, I just wanted to make sure that I was really relaxed and comfortable, and that meant I had to pretty much lay down prone, which I'm just in that zone of getting hit.
Yeah, because you were facing downhill.
Yeah, I was really close to the scope.
And the rifle was coming back because it was only a negative 4 degree shot angle.
Yeah.
So you're almost horizontal.
Yeah.
So people can imagine the rifle's horizontal and then you're coming down on
on
probably
an angle.
a 15 degree angle.
Yeah.
It was a setup
It was very
from the start.
Yeah. Look, and I had a beanie on and stuff like that, so I was like, I'm going to get behind it, and my shoulder wasn't tucked that well, only because I really wanted to get right behind the scope to get the best eye relief, and dialed it up to 10. Obviously, as you know, dialing it up, you've got to get a little bit closer as well. So I was right in the zone, and I could feel it coming, but not, I was just gonna wear it pretty much. And just squeezed off the trigger, really relaxed. I knew that if I leant back on it and was hesitant on the recoil, I probably would have missed. I would have probably squeezed the shot, but I just relaxed and just let the gun do its work. And the projectile did well.
Yes.
Passed through, and you went 10 metres.
Yeah, by the time we dropped down and got over to him, he'd gone, like say, probably less than 10 metres from where he's shot. So
So that was with the Barnes, with Tobias's little recipe. He reloads for me.
My 11 secret herbs and spices.
Yeah, he's got a little hidden.
I'm surprised they
kitchen.
work, Blake, because I just fill the case up with powder, tip a bit out, and jam the projectile in.
good luck.
Don't measure anything.
Yeah, cool. Well, it works.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Cooked up the little recipe with the Barnes LRX 145 grain in the 7mm Rem mag.
So that rifle of yours is a Browning X-Bolt. It comes with a radial muzzle brake. Why do you not shoot it with the muzzle brake?
Too loud. I'm pretty terrible at wearing ear protection, which is bad, but I don't like the artificial sound in the bush with the the noise reducing ones, and I would always forget to put up my earplugs. A shot like that I could have. Yep. Definitely. But a lot of the time you don't have time to put your earplugs in.
Yeah.
And if you're wearing something that's like your, the electronic ones, I guess you'd say, they enhance sound as well. So I just don't like anything artificial, because birds chirping and that, are probably louder than they actually are, and you don't know what's going on. I like to hear.
And that's what I've got, and it makes you sound louder than you are when you're walking through the bush.
Yes,
because it amplifies it. But
so it's the sound, and to be honest, I went to the range with the muzzle brake on and off. There is a difference, but it's not crazy. So, and the other thing is, it's 26-inch barrel.
And then
minus
another
the muzzle brake,
inch and 3/4 of muzzle brake.
Another bit of muzzle brake. I'll be running around with a 27-inch barrel. So it's already long enough.
Yeah. No, just curious, and
probably will now though.
Well, to be honest, I'm not a fan of radial muzzle brakes.
Yeah, they blast dust up in your face.
Yeah. And the only reason companies come out with radial muzzle brakes is so that they don't have to tune them.
Yep.
So if you have side-ported muzzle brakes, obviously then it has to be tuned when you screw it on, so that the ports are perfectly horizontal.
Yep.
So that's the difference. A good gunsmith will be able to do that for you, like mine. So when I tighten mine on, it's pucking out both sides.
Yep, got you.
by putting the radial one on, it doesn't matter where it
It
stops.
covers everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I do have a muzzle brake, but
that's for obvious reasons.
yeah,
You're
that's
shooting a
just-
338.
yeah.
Jason, do you have one on yours?
No.
On your 6.5 Creedmoor,
No.
you don't have one.
I'm tempted.
Yeah.
I'm tempted.
You're,
Might have to get a few tips to Tobias and get one installed, I reckon.
I'll bring an angle grinder over and fix it up for you. Yeah, very good. So, and things were a little bit rushed as well, because I know you said you had buck fever, but the deer were on the move as well.
Yeah.
So we really needed
Yeah, we had to make a call.
Yeah, to get up in the place, set up, get you set up. I think the first position you tried, you
No, I wasn't
didn't
happy.
like, you couldn't get the right angle or something.
Yeah, if I was shooting at 500 metres, that's my longest shot. And I knew that the gun's capable, the ammo's capable, and the scope
Yep.
with the CDS.
Just the shooter that's shit.
It was just the shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew that I had to be.
Yeah, that first position, you looked awkward.
Yeah,
You could
it's
tell
awkward.
That was definitely going to be a no-go.
Look, that country is just,
Yeah.
there was just rocks everywhere, boulders you're laying down on, like pictured dry boulders everywhere with a real steep angle. It was just terrible. So we found a better spot, a little bit of a, still bad, but just a little bit better.
When after the shot and so forth, when we sort of got a chance to calm down and then debrief and analyse everything, we probably could have moved further back up the hill. There was a couple of flat spots further up the hill that may have given you a shot.
Yeah.
But one of the things you said to me was you didn't want to move further up the hill because that meant more distance and then a decrease in confidence, because you felt confident out to 500.
Yeah.
But if you'd gone another 20 or 30 metres,
Yeah, it probably would have made it a...
just would have been that little seed of doubt in your mind.
Yeah,
mental,
I think because I like kind of even numbers with the CDS. Anything inside, that's pretty good. But with the way I've got the CDS, I can just dial to 5, and I know that's 500.
Yeah.
It was 510, so I went 510 and some. I went 5 and some change, just a little bit, one click up over 5, and that was on the money. Obviously, it hit his shoulder, and
Yep. And I should also point out too that at that hour of the morning, do you remember what time it was at the?
about 10 a.m.
Shop?
No.
No,
No,
it wasn't.
earlier than that.
Oh, it would have been.
It
probably
was quite
7,
early. It was still
maybe?
quite early. Yeah, well, I would have thought
Just
maybe,
up to 7, maybe?
No, I would have thought maybe just before 7. But anyway, at that time of the morning, it was dead still.
Yeah.
Like you could not have been given a better weather window
Yeah.
to take that shot.
Yeah, exactly. I would, like, conditions like this, I would have just said no. Like, that's a risky shot.
Yeah.
But considering it was, the CDS, I knew that at 5 it's going to hit. I'll have shot it out to that far.
Yep.
And
just with all those
With all
other
that-
conditions as well.
and he was broadside. It was 500. He was
You had a
no wind.
stable platform built.
Yep.
Confidence in your rifle, 0 wind, and
It all lined up.
within your capability. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was.
And look, I'm not a long range shooter by any means, but I'm confident in my gear now, and it's taken a little bit to get there. Like factory ammo and stuff, there's no way don't think I'd have the confidence. Not saying it couldn't do it, but I don't think I'd have the confidence to shoot out that far with factory ammo. Tuning the ammo, getting the scope right, and just time at the range and behind the gun.
Bit of practice.
Bit of practice all pays off.
And unfortunately, it is a very expensive hobby. So probably you're like me. I don't get to practice anywhere near as much as I would like because of the cost involved. But
Yeah, that's right.
when I can, I do like to get out and send a few down in the range just to have confidence and know that everything's where it should be. Anything else? Any other gear or bits that we need to cover about the shot element?
Look, the little Maven rangefinder did it again, which was good.
Actually, I was the other day. I was struggling to to get my Leica range
That's right,
finding
yeah, yeah.
binos to bounce back off.
Yeah, off the other ridge.
Yeah, what I thought was within range for them, and I asked you to come over and confirm, and you jumped up and boom, straight away. You had 1,512 metres.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I don't know if that's out of the range of my binos or if they're getting a flat battery or just old.
Do you know what the max range yours says it is? Or?
Look, I thought it was out to 1,800 off a hard, shiny surface.
Could be, yeah. Well, this one's 24, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah, so I'll have to, might have to change the battery when I get back and play around with it a bit. But so no, pretty impressed with the capabilities of that little rangefinder.
Yeah, no, it's worked so far. Really good in low light too, because you got the adjustment.
Yep. And then the Alpine accuracy bag.
Yeah, that was probably, to be honest, the hero there. It was really comfortable and light, and I could, because it was rocky, obviously. So putting my elbow down, pack's too big.
Yeah.
What else have I got? And that thing's so light. I just threw it under there. I actually dug the dirt down a little bit, and then just, leveled it out.
Yep.
And then just made sure my rifle was level, and then
Yeah.
that was good. Works well, and nothing to pack in, is it?
No.
Just for the security of it all.
Yeah. No,
if you do have a shot like that.
I think off the top of my head, I want to say it's about 360 grams or 320 grams, something like that. So it's well worth the weight penalty for bringing it in, just to give you that.
Yeah, and it also comes
stability.
double handy with the blaze orange colour.
Yeah.
So me and Jason head down the gully to find the stag. So we dropped down, and the plan was we were going to use our UHFs, weren't we, to communicate back, and like everything of mine's always goes flat.
Yeah, mine was flat as well.
Jason's was flat. And yeah, well, we have been in here for 6 days with power banks, and we've got a lot of things to charge up and stuff. So yeah, things are getting flat. But yeah, we're going to communicate that way. So we only had the in reach. So we decided that Tobias was going to give us some hand signals when we get over to where I shot him at, and that come in handy because it was blaze orange and you were waving it around.
Yeah. So the process was that I was going to, indicate one way if they were off or up or down or whatever it was. I ended up hanging it in a tree so you could get over there and then sight back to see where I was.
Well, it was funny because me and Jason got up in the hills there, and where we thought we were shooting it, I shot him, and looked back, and you were glassing the other gully.
Yeah, well,
so we're a little bit like.
You can't blame me for being distracted while I'm waiting.
We thought you were on to Samba, so.
It always looks so easy that you shoot the animal and you think, oh yeah, we'll just
over there. We'll drop over. He's
and
up
then
there.
you get over there and you're like, wow,
it's so
this
deceiving.
does not look the same.
Yeah.
Where are we?
And I was keeping an eye out for your blaze hat. To see if I could see that bobbing around, and I didn't see it.
My tactic was wave it around, get Tobias's attention, and Jason would glass you up. He glassed you up and you were looking at another gully, so that worked well. And then the in reach took a little bit longer than we thought to get through the message, which is a bit of a bummer. But
we managed to track him down.
So what we're doing is just ranging back. I was ranging back at, I think at first we were like 460, Jace.
Yeah.
460 or something, so we knew we had to come up about 50 metres.
Yeah. Then we ended up at 560.
Then we were 560, we went up a bit too high.
Yeah.
Because we did go up to the 510 mark, but it just didn't look right. It didn't look like where we shot him. So we realised we were gully over, weren't we?
Yeah.
And the angle wasn't right, so we went over to the other gully, and it looked a bit better, and then we ranged it. And it's 520 odd, and I just looked down and saw antlers. It was good.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, so by the time I looked over and saw you guys, I recognised that you were in the right spot, and then you kind of walked downhill, and then I just saw your blaze hat
Too late.
behind
mate.
the
We've
trees.
We've already done your
And
job.
you didn't move, and I figured, well, you found them, so
Yeah, perfect.
fuck
I'll
you, I'll go back to glassing for Sambo.
Mission accomplished.
My job here is done.
Yep.
No,
it was good to hang that in the tree because it just gave us a beacon to range off, so we knew how high to be, basically. So it was good.
So then the reward.
Yeah. So we got the back stakes out. A couple of photos of the deer. Back stakes out. Bit more meat. Packed it out.
Yep.
Headed back to you. It was a bit of a trek. We done it pretty quick, didn't we?
You guys smashed it on the way back.
We, which is really handy with the little Tatonka modulus pack because Jason had his 30 litre pack on for a day hunt, and we strapped the rack on the back of that. Some meat in the spiker game bag in the pack, and we trotted on out. And Jason took my rifle for me and his camera gear, and yeah, headed back up to you, and we did it in record time. We dropped down real quick and just pushed on up. Then brought it back to camp, didn't we?
Yeah, back to camp.
Had a coffee, a bit of a cheers.
Hung it in the shade.
Yep.
Filtered some more water, and then went out for an RV hunt.
Yeah.
Yep. No luck on the afternoon hunt, but it was still good. That wind really picked up this afternoon. It was actually getting quite cool up there on the hill. We gave it a really good nudge, glassing to really like last light, but no luck to see it.
Yeah, literally last light. Like we were swapping binoculars to
compare the glass.
Compare whose was lasting, and we got to the last set, and that was it.
I think the Leicas win.
It was Leica, Zeiss, and then Minox for anyone that's wondering what we've been using.
Yeah. There wasn't a great deal of difference between the Zeiss and the Leica, but
What I do like, it's a good tip, is your little shield, whatever you call it.
oh yeah, the Bino Bandit.
The Bandit, yeah, no, that's handy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
It just really gets you in that zone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really focuses you in on what you're looking at rather than
the
that
light coming in.
peripheral light. And particularly like today where we were glassing into the sun as it was setting, and it cuts out all that flare coming in and so forth.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we are
back stakes for dinner.
Yeah, we are sitting now. We set the fire up before, burnt some big logs down, so we've got some nice coals. They're probably just about ready to actually start doing some cooking.
Yep.
So yeah, we might pull up stumps there, and we'll continue this, I guess, when we've got some more good news, or at the end.
Yeah, bit of a wrap up at the end. Got a couple of days left, so you never know what can happen.
Yeah,
that's right. We're still going to stay positive. You know, there's still plenty of sambar sign around, and we're staying positive, and it's good.
Well, I mean, I say this all the time. You're never going to shoot a deer sitting in your lounge room. So you've got to be out here. You've got to be looking for them. You've got to be walking around. So
look, not the target species, but we definitely appreciate the meat. And it is a well-earned public land fellow buck. So we're stoked.
Yeah. All good. All right. Well. We'll cut it off there, and hopefully next time you're listening to us, we've got some good news. If not, it'll just be another wrap up of the trip. Well, welcome to part 2 of our hunt recap for the Victoria 2024 trip. So at the moment we are on the Princess Highway heading back to Melbourne. We ended up staying in the bush basically an extra day, and so we've had to come out in a relative hurry and get on the highway. It's about 6:30 at night. It's raining outside, so you can probably hear a bit of a pitter-patter, and you'll probably hear a few splashes as we hit some puddles. Just to reassure everyone, I'm not driving and controlling the podcast gear. But again, I'm joined by my friends Jason and Blake. Guys, how are we feeling now besides dehydrated, malnourished and exhausted?
Yeah, definitely a bit tired, but feeling a little bit. I'm currently the driver at the moment, so just cruising our way back to Melbourne. But yeah, the body's a little bit beaten and sore, but overall I think it was a very good trip.
Yeah, coffee definitely helps at the moment. We're all a bit tired after a few 8 long days in the bush.
Yeah, so one of the first things we did when we got out was to stop at the first shop we could, grab a couple of coffees and chocolates and snacks, and try and replenish ourselves. We were definitely in a bit of a calorie deficit, and certainly after we had a bit of food, a bit of sugar, it seemed to perk us up a bit because we were struggling for a bit there.
Well, you definitely have those cravings after that long in the bush. It's always nice just to have a few treats you've probably been thinking about or whatever. So I think coffee was on the majority of our top of our list, and actually it was a very good coffee. So
yeah,
it was pretty good. What was the name of the town again? It was
Buchan. Buchan?
Buchan, that's it. Yeah, if you're ever going through Buchan, there's a roadhouse there. They do very good coffee. Highly recommend. So, where were we last time? I think we were day 5 down the bottom of the creek.
We're in the creek bed, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So since then, well, that night I think we were going to dine on the fallow.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah,
we were waiting for the coals to be ready, and I think we were just about to throw them on.
Yeah, that's right.
I must say, it was delicious.
It was
very good, nice little rub on the backstrap, and yeah.
Yep.
Nicely seared.
Bit of olive oil.
Yep.
Bit of the Lane's magic dust.
Yep.
And we had some nice coals going. So we've got the little Alton Goods titanium grill. Just put that over a couple of rocks over the coals. Yeah, that's some very, very tasty meat indeed.
That grill definitely came in handy a few times, didn't it?
Yeah, yes it did. Now I think I've spoken about this before, but and I may have even mentioned it before we dined on it, but I've never eaten meat that was less than 24 hours dead, and that backstrap was less than
maybe 8 hours, 9 hours.
Yeah. And I have heard from other people that eating meat less than 24 hours old can affect you, can make you a little bit upset in the belly. Well, after eating the fallow,
let's just say we did eat a lot, Tobias.
We did eat a lot. We did.
We had a few pieces, and you guys devoured a whole bowl of it.
Yeah, I can't deny that.
Yeah.
We were certainly
I
stocked
don't
up
know
on
if
protein.
it was the meat, Tobias, or just indulging in it.
Yeah. But anyway, later that night I had a bit of a touch of the running bums. And it was only that night and the next morning, and the only thing I can attribute it to is the fallow and eating it too green. So can't confirm or deny that was exactly the cause, but I'm certainly going to be mindful of that next time and stick to my rule about not eating meat that's less than 24 hours dead. But anyway, other than that, the fallow was absolutely delicious and surprisingly not tough. It wasn't chewy. It was all very well prepared, and we all outdid ourselves that night. So the next day, back up to the same spot on the hill, and it was a bit colder the next morning, wasn't it?
It was very cold. And windy, wasn't it? It was very windy up the tops.
Yeah. The wind started to pick up a bit earlier. So we were back up the top, glassing sunny hill face, and no joy the next morning.
Very quiet.
So I think it was at that point we decided to pull out then.
Yep.
And water wasn't a huge issue because we'd managed to collect a little bit of rainwater as well. We spread a tarp out in a bit of a hole and pegged it down, put some rocks on it, so we collected a little bit of rainwater, but we also had that water hole nearby. So, but yeah, we just decided that we would head to the creek and hopefully find a bit of better country as well. Next morning, packed up on the road, and I think we should. I think that the theme of this trip is not the target species, because we came across a pig, a very, very large mountain boar. On the way out, and anyway, it was good to see, but again, not what we were really there.
Wasn't
for.
a samba, was it? That's what we were chasing.
It wasn't a samba. So found our way down. We picked a bit of a finger ridge to head down, get us back down to the creek, and I think it was generally. It was generally easy walking. It wasn't the coolest of days again, but we did take a couple of tumbles on the way down. So I think, Blake, you had a bit of a almost serious fall on the way down.
Down the second gully towards. Yeah, no, that's right. I did. You almost snapped my ankle a couple of times.
Yeah. You'd already had a bit of a fall on that ankle.
I kept rolling one side of my ankle, and it was just getting weaker and weaker, and it just was unstable. I just kept rolling over it, unfortunately. But
this is quite a lot of loose rock and
it's just
scree.
Loose rock and scree, and just
steep.
we were sliding down there, and I think we all had a little bit of a tumble at one stage. But I had one, and it wasn't actually the scree. I fell in a bit of a hole, and my hiking pole got stuck between a log as well, so I was sort of like just had to go down. And then you guys were a bit worried at first, but I was all good.
Yeah, well, you kind of laid there and didn't move for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I think my hiking pole was stuck, and it just locked me down. So all good though.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do when you roll your ankle up there. You just got to keep trekking.
Yeah, and I took a bit of a tumble at one stage, and you guys were behind me, and you said my ankle sort of went on a really...
That did not look good at all. It's like your leg bent up a bit weird, and you took a tumble.
Yeah.
Didn't look pretty.
No. Funnily enough, it didn't hurt though, initially, but about 20 minutes later my knee started to really hurt, so...
Almost got a spot in the Olympic team for breakdancing, mate.
Yeah. If you'd videoed it, I could have sent it in as my resume for the next Olympics. So the challenge of doing a big downhill hike like that is it puts pressure on different parts of your knees and hips and so forth. So your muscles are not used to doing that sort of continuous weight-bearing exercise. So it can be a bit of a challenge. So it was
especially Tobias too, after what do we have, 3 days on the poles, and then a rest and then 2 days without sort of crazy amounts of miles.
Yep. And lighter
kilometers
packs
on the legs, and then putting the heavy packs back on again after a couple of days rest. It's like your body's starting to recover, and then bang, it hits you again. That hurt that morning for a little while, and then coming down, like your quads and stuff are a bit jelly. So on that scree coming down the faces, it's a little bit dodgy.
Yeah.
It can get nasty.
Right. Yeah.
But we managed our way down.
Yeah. And as I said to you guys, one of the things I notice about when I do backpack trips like this is that my good knee becomes my bad knee. For some reason, when I'm doing a lot of downhill with a heavy pack on, that knee plays up, and my bad knee doesn't hurt. Yeah, so eventually made it to the creek, and we found ourselves a nice little grassy spot to camp right beside the creek, so we had plenty of water, so that problem was over. And then it was on with some more hunting. So basically then we just kind of turned our game to stalking, working our way along the creek bed, the corresponding perimeter of the creek, and some of the finger gullies and so forth. Saw a lot of sign down there. Again, a mixture of fallow and sambar, but certainly enough to be encouraged and enthused by it. So, what was the next sort of step from there for us?
Yeah, so we found that obviously up the tops there wasn't too much going on where we were, so after we shot that fellow, headed down towards the gullies and where all the better feed was, and yeah, got to the creek beds and started to see a bit fresher sign, didn't we?
Well, I think on that first hunt, we saw more deer on that first hunt between us than we'd seen for the previous few days. So it was very encouraging. We're starting to see sign. There's a lot more feed, and we're actually getting on some sambar.
Yeah, well, we got honked a couple of times that first sort of night, and then even heading in, and saw a lot more sign. I saw 4 deer that first morning, and I think you saw some, Tobias. So yeah, like Jason said, we saw a heap of deer in that first morning, and we were onto them. We had only a couple of days to really work out their patterns, didn't we?
Yeah. Now, was it that first afternoon that I made those really bad decisions?
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, well, let's break that down.
Yeah, so after we got down to the flats, I decided that I would hike back up to where we'd stashed the pack raft, so that I could big the pack raft down, and then we could cross the river, get back over the other side, because there was a car track on the other side, and it was going to be a lot easier to walk back on the car track to the car, so we could stay in where we were a bit longer, rather than originally our plan was to sort of hunt our way back on the river banks. But after sort of looking at that, we decided, no, this would be a bit easier. We could stay here for longer, get ourselves over, walk up the road, and that was sort of the first of many bad decisions that day for me. So I mapped it out, and I thought it was only about 6.5 k's to get back up to the pack raft, and figuring that'd give me enough time to get up there, get the raft set up, and then float back down before dark. And I was horribly mistaken in all of those.
So bear in mind, Tobias, you decided to set out on this expedition at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
So I think about 3:35 you left camp. And I don't know, I suppose I was a little bit apprehensive about the distance you had to cover, but I thought, if you get a good run, you should be able to do it. But yeah, 3:30 in the afternoon, and we'll probably last light is about 6:15, 6:20.
Yeah.
So it gave you just under 3 hour kind of window to get all that completed.
Yeah.
You were very adamant though, weren't you? You were like, you know what, boys, I'm gonna head up here. I'm gonna do it, and we couldn't disagree. We just said, no worries, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were very confident.
Yeah. Well, I think I learned my lesson.
So run us through it, Tobias. How did it all unfold?
Right, so I took off from camp, had a very light pack, minimal food, minimal water, basically nothing else.
You still had your rifle with you?
Yeah, rifle as well. Headed up, and like I said, the idea was I was going to walk up the sort of outside of the river, and not long after I started, I really started recognising how difficult it was going to be. You know, it's not a flat section of ground along the river there. It's in some spots the hill face came right down to the river, so I had to go up, climb up, contour over, down into creek beds, and I eventually found myself sort of in the middle of this big thicket of blackberries. And it's reignited my hatred of blackberries. So I looked for some options, and I thought, well, maybe, and I looked at the time, how long it had taken me to get that far, and probably again at that point, I should have recognised that this was slowly becoming a very horrible idea.
Had any panic started setting in by this stage? Were you trying to rush or beat that clock, or what was the, were you still quite calm and rational about what you're up to?
I was still calm. I was still, I recognised that I was really going to be struggling for time.
Yeah.
But still thought I could do it. Because when I plotted it out on the map, it only looked like less than 6.5 k's to get up there. So I sort of thought, well, I should be able to, if I can get a good pace going, I should be able to do that in under 2 hours. Anyway, that was the first of one serious miscalculation. So found myself in the blackberries, and I thought, I can't go forward, I can't go uphill. The best thing to do here is to cross the river where I can and get onto that track that's running up the other side, and I'll just beat it up the track then. I can get a good pace going then. So found a spot where I thought I was okay. I shimmied out on this fallen tree, poked my my walking stick down into the creek, and I could touch the bottom with it.
So you managed to partially crawl across a log across the river?
Yeah, it was basically halfway across this section.
Okay.
So, it was already halfway across by getting out on the log. So I thought, right, well, it's only going to be a sort of very short period where I'm going to be, waist deep in water, all going well, get across the other side, winner, chicken dinner. So, again, overconfidence. And probably not thinking rationally enough, stepped off the log into the water, knowing that it was going to be about waist deep, and because of the current, and I'm going to say the slime on the rocks on the bottom and so forth, as soon as the majority of my weight shifted off that log, my feet just got swept out from underneath me. I didn't even hardly had a chance to even touch the rocks on the bottom. So next minute I'm floating down the stream with pack on, rifle
in hand, or rifle on the pack?
Rifle on the pack.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I wasn't panicking because I knew that I knew it was reasonably shallow there, and I knew that eventually I'd sort of find something to get my footing and make my way over to the bank. But of course, everything's wet by that stage. Got across the other side, got myself out, checked my phone, and I've got to say this, I've got a Kuiu phone holder as part of the bino harness. They make a little special pouch for it. And I've got to give credit where credit's due. My phone was pretty much dry. Nice. My phone was untouched. So I was very happy with that, because if I'd lost communication, emergency communication particularly, would have been a bad thing. So again, at that point, I probably should have gone, okay, not the smartest idea to keep going now. I should probably go back to camp, get myself dry and warm, and then...
But now you're on the other side of the river. You pulled yourself out of there, soaking wet.
Soaking wet.
And then what have you decided to do?
Keep going.
Okay. So how many Ks you got left to go?
Well, by that stage, I thought I was, around 5-ish.
Okay. So still a fair way.
Yeah. So I walked over, found the track. It was a good four-wheel drive track, so I could get a good pace going. And I'm walking, and I'm walking, and I'm walking, and it's getting darker, and I'm walking still. Looked on the GPS to see where I was, and I still had quite a way to go. A lot further than I was hoping I was going to have.
How was the body going after being in the cold water? Were you okay?
It was good, yeah, because I was sort of walking myself, generating heat, so I was keeping myself warm, and with merino layers on and merino socks and so forth. I wasn't feeling the cold. I mean, if I'd stopped...
You probably had a bit of adrenaline pumping through as well, I guess?
Yeah, I would have at initially.
Yeah.
So I sort of thought, well, I'm balls deep in this now. I'm going to make a decision. Do I just keep going? Because I had nothing with me that I could have stopped overnight somewhere. I didn't have any down with me. I didn't have a tarp.
You're wet.
Yep, I'm wet. I thought, I've got to make it to the car now. I've either got to turn around and go back, or I've got to make it to the car and then make a decision what I do from there. So decided to keep going to the car, and because the packraft was just across the other side of the creek from where the car was. So eventually I made it to the car. I was praying that there was going to be a car coming along the road that I was on that could pick me up and offer me a lift, but unfortunately no one did. Made it back to the car, and then I had to get across the creek again to get the packraft where that was stashed. So I had to walk up and down the riverbank a bit to try and find an area that was wide enough that I was fairly confident I could wade across. I found a spot. I was already wet, my boots and socks were already wet, so I just left everything on. Got across okay, a little bit hairy in a couple of parts, but you can do a river crossing reasonably safely as long as you've sort of got a bit of knowledge and something to hang on to. So big tip here is when you're in deeper and faster flowing water is face into the water. Don't try and cross like you would normally walk. Face into the water and lean forward onto something to support you. So whether that's your walking poles or a single stick, or even if you've got to grab a dead branch off a tree or something or other, and then you shuffle across. So you always keep 2 points of contact. So it's either 2 feet or a foot and your walking pole, and you're only shifting one leg at a time, and you don't shift the next thing until you are secure with at least those 2 points. Because there's a lot of uneven ground on a creek bottom, a lot of slippery rocks, that sort of thing. So you put your foot down somewhere and you haven't got the other 2 sort of points of contact on secure, and then that foot slips out. Next minute,
it doesn't take much.
Yeah, you're in the water again. So did that okay, got across the other side, and just as I got across the other side, and we're talking about it's getting dark enough now that I need a headlamp on, turned my headlamp on, and of course what happens? It starts flashing at me to tell me the battery's going flat. And what it will do when the battery's going flat, it gets to a certain point, and then it won't allow you to have it on the high intensity light. So it drops down to basically the lowest setting possible, just to maintain that. I didn't take my phone with me. My phone had the packraft stash stored on it, on the GPS app. I didn't take that with me because I was worried that if I fell in the river, I'd run the risk of drowning it, and then I'd be up the creek, so to speak.
So just summarise this, you're on the other side of the creek now, looking for the packraft, you've got a faulty, or the headlight's going low, and you don't exactly know where the packraft is.
I don't exactly know, but I knew where we crossed, and I could still see that from this side of the river, so I could backtrack from there basically. So I remember, when we rafted over, there was a fairly significant sort of rock formation there, and then from there we jumped on a pad and followed that for a bit, and then there was a debris sort of structure from the floodwater, and it was behind that. So I was fairly confident that I could recognise that, but with a failing headlamp. So I sort of then at that point made question whether I should cross back over to the car, grab my other headlamp out, and then come back and have a go. But again, another probably poor choice. I decided to keep going and battle on with the headlamp that I had. Eventually managed to find it. A lot of frustration and swearing going on, because not only was I struggling to locate it, but because of the poor light that the headlamp had, I was constantly tripping on rocks and bits and pieces and so forth. Anyway, so so becoming angry beaver at around that time, and really regretting some of the decisions I'd made that day.
How are your energy levels in that by that stage? Okay, still? Or starting to fade?
I think I was running on fury by that stage. It was just pure rage that was fueling me. And I was just determined, the stubbornness inside me, I was just determined not to fail. So I found the pack raft, back in the creek, made it back over to the car, got out of there, and at that point I had the thought, maybe I should just stay in the car tonight. Maybe I should just strip down, take all my wet clothing off, let the car run with the aircon on, the heater on for a while. I didn't have any food. I had enough water to get me through the night. It was going to be an uncomfortable night, but I thought maybe I should just do that now and message you guys and let you know that that's what's happening. But again, the stubbornness inside me said, no, we can do this. So off down the road I go. And
so you're driving by the stage, now you're in the vehicle?
Yep, so back in the vehicle, back down the road. Looking on the map, worked out where I needed to go to get back to you guys. Now, bear in mind, we hadn't driven that road other than me walking out on part of it. So I had no idea what the condition of the tracks were. And drove a fair way down the road, turned off the main road, started following this sort of bush track that said it was an 0-through road, but it led to private property, but there was a track a bush track that came off it. So I thought, that's where I need to go. Thankfully, I ran across a farmer who was on his way home that night. And he said, "Are you lost?" And I said, "Yes, more or less, you could say that." And he said, "Where are you planning on going?" And I showed him on the GPS app, and he said, "Oh mate, you won't get this car down that track." And he said, "No, you'll ruin it." And being a rental, we probably thought I thought that probably wasn't a great idea to do that. So he told me I had to drive basically halfway back to where I'd come from and then take this other track. And he said, "Oh, that track's a bit rough too. I don't know how you'll go." So again, at that point, and this is dark by now. This is like well and truly dark.
And keep in mind, me and Jason were at camp. To be honest, a little bit worried because one, the UHF wasn't working. And two, obviously the InReach, we were trying to message and we weren't hearing back. So we're getting a little bit concerned because we knew that you were, going to be rafting back, and we weren't sure what was going on.
Yeah, and the InReach is the one thing I'll come back to as well, the problems that we had with that. But anyway, I drove back, found this turnoff that he told me to go down, and I started going down this trek. And initially I thought, this is a bit rough, but it's okay, it's manageable. I'll just take it nice and easy. And then again from there, before I turned off the track, I probably should have again made the decision to just stay at the car and battle all this again in the morning in the light of day. But I didn't. Made the choice to drive down this bush track, and it was a proper four-wheel drive track. There were some really sketchy parts, and when we drove out that track today, you guys were both pretty shocked that I'd managed to drive down that track
in the pitch black.
In the pitch black.
Yeah.
Not knowing the track, tired, wet, cold, all the above.
Yeah.
Highway tyres.
Oh, yeah.
Not ruin something or roll the car or that sort of thing. So I eventually made it to across the river from the campsite, and I don't know, what was it, about 8:30 at night by then?
8:30. Yeah.
And I'm cold, I'm tired, I'm malnourished. I'm just at the end of my tether. Got the pack raft up, floated across the river, and then relayed the story to you guys, and you were both just shocked of what I'd gone through for the day to get to that point.
And I think the big thing was you're super lucky. There've been so many points along that whole kind of your Swiss cheese of kind of events that something could have actually really gone sideways. So you kind of managed to manoeuvre your way around all these potential quite big issues and actually make it back to camp, actually it could have been a different story.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing, and props to you, Tobias, is you do stay calm in situations like that. I don't know how I would have gone. I would have panicked and probably made a worse of call. You still managed to stay calm when you got back. You were pretty casual about it. I would have been frantic.
It was funny at that stage because I'd survived.
Yeah.
Well, to paint the picture, we were sitting on a little creek on the riverside and had the fire going. We had our down jackets on, just enjoying the fire, and then Tobias comes cruising over with his head torch and all his wet clothes out of his packraft, and we felt for him because he was all wet and cold. It was an icy river. Had to get his clothes dry and put his food on for him and stuff like that. It was seemed pretty cold.
Yeah, no, I was definitely cold by that stage, and I can tell you, I'm actually glad that it kind of happened that way, and I didn't end up trying to packraft down in low light. Because I found out today how dangerous that really would have been. In my mind, I'm picturing that I can just put my headlight on and
cruise on down.
Yeah, cruise on, just float on down. But I found out there's a few rapids along the way that really would have been dangerous. So anyway, back at camp, having a laugh. Got the meal on, and then topped off the night by having some. Did we have the venison that night, or was it the next night?
It was the next night.
Next night. Yeah. So just got warm. Had to service my rifle
because that had fully gone under.
Yep.
Which you probably want to touch on too, Tobias. The importance of that. You, as we mentioned in the last episode, passing through a few gun shops, you managed to buy some barricade rifle protection pads, which came in handy, didn't they?
Yeah, so at H&S Firearms, I've used them before. I normally have a good supply, but I'd actually run out, and I was trying to source some. Unfortunately, when we went in there, they had a couple of packets, so I grabbed one. But these are just like individual towelettes that are coated in oil, lubricant, and so forth. Obviously designed for firearms, so they're really useful to have one or two of those in your emergency kit, just for those times if you do drown your rifle, take it for a swim, even in heavy rain. It's good to do a bit of a field service of your rifle to make sure it's going to function when you need it to. So, and this is what I highlighted to you, Blake, the importance of knowing how to field strip your bolt.
Yeah.
So because I've got a Remington action, they're very field serviceable. There's a couple of tricks to doing it. It's not hard. And yours, being a Browning, yours is almost the same. It's actually quite easy to disassemble your bolt. And they're set up so that when you pull them apart, they're not going to explode. Like you haven't got springs under tension that just
fly.
Fly off into the night.
Yeah.
And then I was able to pull my bolt apart, you blow the water out of it, give it a wipe down, make sure the barrel had all sort of aired out, just wipe down a few of the metal components, the screws in the scope mounts, and inside the chamber and that sort of thing. So, and the spring, the magazine spring, because that's only cheap spring steel, that's very quick to rust in there. So always drop your mag well out if you've got an internal magazine, and just make sure that that piece of steel there is lubricated, doesn't hold water, because that will rust very quickly. So it was a late night for me, sorting all that out. But thankfully I had some warm clothes back at camp, down pants, the down booties even made an appearance that night. Keep me warm.
So you had no casualties pretty much from that first kind of falling in the river. Nothing was damaged or broken or saturated.
No. Pretty much everything was right. Yeah. And that's sort of a lesson I've learned over the years, you know, about how you carry things and putting important stuff into dry bags and making sure it's all sealed and so forth. Because even if we're not talking about jumping in a river and going for an involuntary swim, you know, if you end up in a bit of heavy rain or something like that, you know, you've always got to sort of be prepared to get wet or get snowed on or that sort of thing. So yeah, next morning, what was the start to the next day? She was pretty cold.
It was a frost. It was an early morning frost.
That was the frost. Yeah,
it got down to negatives.
Yeah, and because I had wet leather boots, they were icy the next day. They were a bit hard to get on, a bit of ice on them, a bit frozen. And then we all went our separate ways.
Well, I remember you heading off pretty early, Tobias, and I soon heard a honk, so it was kind of an indication that we were finally onto some sandbar.
Yep.
So I actually had a bit of a cruisy one. I did a bit of filming in camp, did a bit of a gear dump of my gear, and that was me for the day, I think.
Blake, you had a bit of luck that morning, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. That was the come across another few fallow, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that morning, found a little honey hole, just of a nice green sort of gully that, you know, they were feeding up from in the morning from the flats, and just sort of creeped over the other side of the ridge and glassed down. Just walked really, really slow. Managed to get my binos on 4 fallow, 3 spikers and one buck. He was better than the one I shot a couple of days prior. Obviously, with one already on the ground, I didn't want to take another one. We already had some meat for camp and stuff like that, so I just sort of watched him for a little while. He was quite a good buck, and then just watched him feed up. So that gave me a little bit of intel that the deer were sort of feeding up around that sort of time frame. We were a little bit later that morning because of the frost to get going, but yeah, sort of it was good to see deer, because previously we only saw a few, and then first couple of nights on the river where, like we mentioned, we were seeing deer, so it's a good indication. And then yeah, that night, that was the night in that same gully I came across a sand behind, so that was cool.
Yeah, yep. And so just tell us about that experience, because you managed to get a little bit of it on film, and
yeah, it was really cool. That was my first sambar in the flesh, which I know that, you know, we're sambar hunting, and I shot a fallow and whatnot, but to give you the idea, we didn't really see much sambar at all, or sign up the tops. Like we said, they were feeding down lower, and with all the nice fresh green pick and blackberries and whatnot down the bottoms. So seeing that was cool. So that afternoon was coming down the gully, because I knew they'll be feeding off the flats, so I was trying to sort of meet them halfway. Wind was right on my nose, and yeah, sort of just stalked through the creek system there, and yeah, was walking really slow and heard a rock tumble down the hill, and I turned around, and there was a sambar hind just walking over about 20 meters from me. She had no idea I was there, and then she must have saw my shape. I had all my camo on. She must have still obviously saw my shape just moving a little bit, and I stood still, stared at her, she stared at me. She was stomping her foot a little bit, she wasn't sure, and at that stage I was just watching, waiting for her to calm down. I knew that she was already alerted, obviously, but I gave the little flex mark call a little go, and she came in a little bit further, and then wasn't sure again, then gave me a honk, and obviously scared the shit out of me. And then she walked around and tried to circle to get my wind, and then sort of just slowly, she wasn't sure, she didn't know what I was, and just slowly walked away. Yeah. She didn't bolt, she just slowly walked away. Yeah. But I have heard from guys that giving that flex marker call on the higher tone side, like you just put it in the corner of your mouth a little bit, you can start to sound like a little bit of a fawn. And the hinds, from what I've been told, get a little bit motherly and caring and come into the fawn call. So I guess their motherly instinct. So I gave that a go, and it worked. So cool. I got it on my phone. It wasn't game enough to pull out my camera because it was in my side pocket on my pack, and I wasn't willing to muck around and ruin that opportunity. So I just pulled out my phone slowly out of my pocket and just started filming a little bit. So it's not the best quality, but it was still cool to be 20 meters from a sand behind without her even knowing.
Very cool.
That was it. Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah, well, that morning I walked up a gully into a bit of a creek system, and like Jason said, I got honked not far out of camp, and in the creek system I sort of walked around to try and get up to a point where I could glass some sunny faces, and got honked again, and then had a very cool experience. I was sitting down and enjoying the sun and a packet of M&Ms, and I heard antlers clashing, and I knew the sound was either stags fighting or a stag thrashing in a tree. So I jumped up, careful not to spill my M&Ms, and raced over to where I tried to get some eyes on to see if I could see them, and just got there in time, managed to throw the binoculars up into a clearing on the hill face opposite, and saw two stags, one pushing the other one down a hill with their antlers interlocked, and then heard them fighting for a little bit more, obviously out of view at this stage.
And they were sandbar stags, Tobias?
Yeah. They were a fair distance away, but I couldn't too far away from me to really judge how big they were or anything like that. But yeah, definitely I could see well enough that they were sambar. And so I stayed there for quite a while, glassing that area, hoping to see maybe one walk back into the open. It would have been too far for me to shoot because I couldn't get a reading on my binos, the rangefinder on my binos, so I knew it was probably 800 metres or more. For some reason, my binos are just not lasering out that far at the moment. So I knew, I knew it was too far to shoot, but it just would have been cool to watch them and see them again. Didn't end up seeing them again, so ended up back at camp, just walked out slowly, and I was getting, I don't know if it was the fatigue from the trip coupled with falling into the river, but I was actually starting to feel a little bit sick by that stage. Well, I'm not sick, but a bit under the weather, like I've sort of got a cold. And I've woken up this morning with a bit of a phlegmy sort of chest and nose. So I don't know whether I've picked up a bug, although it didn't start until we were in the bush after quite a few days. So I would have thought if I'd picked up something on the plane, I would have, we would have all gotten sick, and B, it would have hit me sooner. But anyway, so I was feeling a little fatigued. So we took it pretty easy that afternoon. May have had one or two sleeps out in the sun. And I think we tried our hand at fishing at that stage as well, because one of the other things that I wanted to go back to the car was because I had my fishing rod and a few lures in the car, and because we were right down on the river, we wanted to see if we could land a trout. So I think that was pretty much the afternoon then, flicking around the few lures. I got a brown trout to follow a lure, but didn't get him to take it. We saw a few, but yeah, never got one on the hook.
No.
And so again, what did we do that afternoon then?
I went out for an afternoon hunt. I did manage to see, I think, 4 or 5 fallow. They were mobbed up with some brumbies.
Yep.
But they soon cut my wind. I got a little bit of footage of them, which was cool. Cool little encounter with a fallow and brumbies up one of the creek systems.
Yep.
And yeah.
I think that afternoon I packrafted back over the other side and walked up. I walked up the road and I glassed all the faces leading down to the river and the river flats. And then I, before dark, made the right decision this time, decided to packraft back down to camp, which went well, relatively well. Yeah,
I was on the ridgeline above you, and I saw you coming down, and you were just flying along.
Yeah.
You were making good ground.
Yeah, and I actually got honked on the way down. There was a sambar on the river bank. I didn't see what it was. I didn't get couldn't locate it. But I got back to camp, and I said to Jason, asked me how that was, and I said, I think that was the upper limits of my ability with some of the rapids that I had to go down. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it if it was any darker. In fact, it was probably even maybe a little bit dark to be doing it. But you know, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So got back to camp and again threw the fallow on. Did the rest of the back stake up.
It was tasty.
That was it was definitely. I think it was better. This time.
Yep. So it was now what, 3 or 4 days old.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In really cool game bags.
Yeah. We'd hung it in the tree in the shade. We'd had that cold weather. It had the wind on it the whole time, so it was.
It crusted off nicely, so just cut that all away and sliced it up, and then back on the grill, and it was
on the grill. And this time we'd run out of seasoning by this stage, so we just had salt and pepper left. So olive oil, bit of coconut oil, salt and pepper. Mix it up in a plastic bag, coat it all up. Hot coals over the grill. It was sensational. It was it was honestly some of the best meat, the best venison I've ever had. And then, again, talking about not the targeted species, Blake had the idea that we'd throw a bit of venison scrap on a hook, throw it into the river and see if we could land a trout. And we just left the fishing rod sort of propped up, hoping for it to get a bite. Nothing happened, and then we get to the end of the night, and I said, all right, well, we'll bring the fishing rod in then. We'll bring the fishing rod in, and I start reeling it in. I think, we're snagged, Blake. Sorry, mate. We're caught in a snag. Can you come over here and do your dehooking trick? And Blake comes over, picks up the fishing rod, and goes, "Oh, that's a fish." I went, "No, we're on a log." And of course, not the targeted species. We end up with a freaking great big eel on the end of the line.
Yeah, gross things, aren't they? The old eels.
Yeah. You had a bit of fun playing him in though. Certainly put up a good fight.
It was fun.
But eventually snapped the line, and that was it. That was the end of the fun for the night.
And then it was pretty much to bed. That was last night, and then this morning it was kind of our last day in the bush. So we were all up actually really early this morning, just after 5, trying to get the hopefully to catch the deer on the move. I ended up going up the same creek I'd been up the previous night, and I managed to spook and see a mature sambar stag, which was pretty exciting. So it was my first real good glimpse of a sambar for this trip. Big mature, it kind of takes your breath away how tanky and how big they are. I was just working my way up a creek system, and unfortunately he was just tucked up a little side gully out of my view as I was working my way up, and he heard me coming and crashed on off, but I got probably about a 50 to 60 metre look at him as he kind of made his way up the system. So that was a pretty cool encounter for me this morning.
And like you said, too quick to to get your camera out.
Yeah, but it just
Get it
happens so
on.
quickly.
Yeah. They are impressive when they take off, when you put them up like that and they just charge through the bush like...
For such a big barrel going through the bush, it's amazing how quickly they move.
It's exactly what pretty much happened to me, but I didn't get eyes on it, and I'm pretty sure I knew it was a stag because of just the sound of it. And look, a hind would have probably honked me, and the horses or the brumbies that I've spooked so far usually stand there a bit and give me a little bit of a, whatever they do, they make their little stupid sound, bit of a bark or whatever they call it. So I sort of went back to my honey hole expecting to hopefully bump into, try and film that big fellow again, and see where that hind was coming over to see if there was a stag floating behind her. So got over to my spot, bumped some brumbies early on, in the dark at this point. I had my red light on, hiking up in there, and look up about 10 metres in front of me and there's a horse standing there, scared the hell out of me. And then he gave me a grunt or whatever, and then they trotted off and smashed through the bush. And then dropped down over to my spot and waited there for about an hour and a half and was hoping to see something. I guess my patience was lacking. I wasn't really seeing too much. I was there for, close to 2 hours just sitting still, and I hate sitting still. I know I have to do it, but I just sort of got up, went for a little wander up because I thought they've already sort of fed through. So I tried to tail them a little bit with the wind pretty well, sort of a crosswind, and try to tail them to see if I can glass up on those. It's in a bit of a gully sort of cross section. So I was looking up at the tops to see if anything's fed up. Didn't see anything, so I slowly started to wander back, and I was going to cross gully to see if I can catch something on the other gully coming up. And then as I was walking down, as you do, you sort of head up your bum a little bit and forgetting that you're hunting. And because I've already just walked through there, I thought there's nothing going to be here, and then something jumped up out of the thick and just barreled off, and that was my morning over. I thought I've just pumped a big stag or a stag, and he's ran off, and I was a bit deflated after that. So that was my morning, and that was pretty much all she wrote for me.
So we kind of got back to camp, didn't we, Blake, around the same time, probably about 9:30ish.
Yeah.
And then we were starting just to, break down camp and kind of looking at the watch and thinking, oh yeah, Tobias is taking a bit of time. I wonder what he's got up to. And kept looking at our watch, and then next thing we see Tobias coming down the river on the packraft. And Tobias, you had another bit of a story to tell.
Yeah. Once again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So my plan for the morning was to take the packraft, stalk up the side of the river we were on, go up to a different creek system, walk in there because I'd sort of seen there were probably some good faces to glass. So got up there, spent the morning sort of contouring along, glassing across the gully, found some really good country, again, just no deer in there. Found a couple of horses, and the freaking horses, I tell you what, like every time you're looking somewhere and you're thinking, oh man, there's got to be a stag here, there's got to be a stag, and then you see a big patch of brown and you go, there's one there. Oh, it's a fucking horse.
You're the horse whisperer.
Oh yeah.
We were questioning that, like what happens with those brumbies? Do the fallow, because you were saying, Jason, that the fallow feed with the...
Well, the ones I saw, they were grouped up together. They were all together.
And then I've seen the brumbies run off and then a samba hind come out, like they're scared of the samba. But if anyone, any listeners, hit Tobias up and let us know what the go is there.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what effect the horses have on the samba, if any at all.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we had no problems finding brumbies in areas where we would have expected to see stags. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it was a very peaceful morning. I had a wild dog start sounding off, and he was obviously a young one. So I gave him a howl back and played with him for a little bit. And anyway, I sort of noticed that he was coming in a bit closer. So I went up to the top of this little knob and just sat there and waited. And sure enough, he came out of the bush, flopping along like puppies do, full of curiosity and stupidity. And he sat there and looked at me. He could see that something was amiss, but he didn't know what it was. And eventually I lifted my rifle. Not that I was going to shoot him, but I lifted my rifle, put the crosshairs on him, and, just went, in my mind I went, bang, you're dead. And with that movement, he sort of realised something wasn't right, so off he took. And there was another couple of dogs in the system as well. They were kind of howling between each other. I think I might have howled again. And anyway, I went back to glassing, and I was there for maybe 10-15 minutes or so. And you get that feeling like I need to turn around because there's something behind me.
Yeah, you're being watched.
Yeah, I'm being watched. And I turned around, and sure enough, here's a bitch, a big golden bitch, standing maybe 15 metres away, looking at me. And she was upwind of me, so she didn't have my scent. And because I'm sitting on a rock, nice and still, in the camo.
So she'd come into your house, had she?
Yeah. So anyway, as soon as I sort of turned around and sighted her, she went, "Oh, I'm out of here," and off she went. So again, I was glassing. I contoured around a bit more. Really nice country to look at. So I spent a bit of time there, just hoping and praying, basically, that
the last day success
last
kind
day,
of thing.
it had to happen. It's going to happen now. Anyway, got to a point, and I thought, we're pulling the pin. That's it. The fat lady has sung. So I stalked my way out along. I contoured along that creek bed there as well, just in case there was something down the bottom. Might have picked up a fallow or something, and got to a point that I saw a golden retriever colour sort of patch, which was very out of place in that area because it was all cypress and that's granity sort of
so
soil.
it already popped out.
Yep. So it's all grey and green and black, and there's this golden sort of shape. And I thought, I better know what that is. Put the binos up, sure enough, there's a dog laying out in the sun. And then while I'm standing there, another black dog pops its head up and looks around and sort of looks in my direction and goes, that wasn't there before. And he jumped up, and they were sort of, and then of course that alerted the others. There were 4 dogs all laying out in the sun. Just having a snooze. And
so there's a total of 6 dogs in that kind of area.
Yeah. Oh, and there was more. There was definitely more standing off further down the creek as well. So they jumped up and all sort of scampered about, as if they knew something was wrong, but they didn't know which direction to run. And eventually they just took off downhill. So I took that opportunity. I grabbed my phone out and tried to lean against the tree so I could sort of stabilise it and do a bit of filming. So hopefully the footage works out, and Jason will be able to use it in the YouTube episode. But yeah, I just watched them sort of circle around for a bit. They couldn't work out really where I was. They just knew they needed to get out of the area, and they sort of trotted off, stopped every now and then and looked around, and then that was it. I found myself back at the river, and again, another poor decision made.
So the game plan was just to raft back to us?
Yep, game plan was put the pack raft in,
yep.
Raft back down to camp because we needed the pack raft to ferry back over to the other side anyway. So I actually did a time lapse then of me inflating the pack raft, just so again you hopefully can put that in the YouTube just to show how easy it is and quick it is. Put it in the water. Now, where I put it in was further upstream from where I put it in the other day.
So it was uncharted waters.
Uncharted waters for the first part of it. Now, for some reason, little voice in my head said, strap your rifle to your pack. So
which you hadn't done previously?
Hadn't done it previously,
Okay.
no. So for some reason, I decided to strap my rifle to the pack. So using the straps on the harness, I strapped it in, put it on the front of the raft, jumped in, down I went. First set of rapids I got to, I immediately recognised what a bad idea it was. But I kind of went, okay, well...
Because the size of the rapids you could see coming?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Okay.
There was actually a significant drop in the level of the river.
Yeah.
Like there was a
And
step,
the-
there
yeah.
was a step down, there was an actual step down.
Yeah.
And I thought, ooh, this is a bit bigger than I've been in before.
But by this stage, you're thinking you're kind of a A1 rafter.
Mate, I'm an expert level by this stage, yeah. So I thought, oh well,
No worries.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really poor choice. Hit the rapids. As soon as I got to the rapids, I went, oh, fuck. The first wave I hit came straight in over the top of the raft, and next minute I'm out, my pack's out, the paddle's gone, my Crocs are off floating downstream. It's just all gone pear-shaped in a big way.
And you're still in the rapid at the moment? Like
I'm still in the rapids.
Yeah.
I'm bashing. My legs are bashing up against big rocks underneath the thing, and I'm thinking, my leg's gonna get jammed in somewhere and get snapped in half, and my rifle's gonna end up on the bottom of the river. And anyway, obviously it didn't. I made it out alive. To my surprise, to my absolute shock and awe, my pack floated.
Yeah.
Now I'd put all my clothing and boots and stuff into a dry bag inside my pack and sealed it up. So it had a fairly significant buoyancy sort of structure inside the pack. But the pack itself, the Stone Glacier packs, are actually what I've discovered now, made out of basically a waterproof material as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the pack was floating, and originally it was floating upside down, and I couldn't see my rifle. So I thought, the rifle's gone. Yeah. So I'm with one hand, I'm reaching out and I'm trying to grab the packraft. It's got a handle on the front of it.
Yes.
So I'm trying to grab. First of all, I had to flip it up the right way, and I originally tried to pull myself into it, and I realised I couldn't do that. I just couldn't physically lift my pack.
Yeah.
I was going to put my pack in first, and I couldn't physically do that, and I'm still bouncing down, bashing against rocks and so forth. So I thought, I'm just going to float. I'm going to hang onto the handle, and I'm just going to float, put my legs up, and just
Just
hope,
go with it.
Yeah, just hope that I can steer myself over to the bank. And I managed to turn my pack over. Sorry, I couldn't turn my pack over, but I reached underneath and I could see my rifle was still strapped on it. So I'm hanging on to my rifle barrel, the pack's floating along, the paddle's actually floating along right beside me on my right hand side. So I've got one hand on my rifle barrel, one hand on the pack raft, my Crocs are downstream, and eventually I sort of managed to get myself into a shallow enough point where I could get myself footing and get over to the bank.
To reassess kind of where you were at.
Yeah. So, quick reassessment. No, nothing's broken. Really struggled to get lift my pack up into the pack raft, because by that stage it had taken on quite a bit of water. Got the pack in the front, still had, and the paddle made it over there with us as well. I'd managed to sort of kick that and push it over to the bank as well.
Because that wasn't tethered to the raft, was it?
No, it wasn't. So there's another lesson. I need a paddle tether. Thankfully I managed to retain that. Got myself back into the raft, paddled down, recovered my Crocs. The Crocs are important because they were a present from my kids for Father's Day just a couple of weeks ago. So I was really upset that I'd potentially lost them, but they were recovered. And anyway, from that point on, I knew the river. So I was confident to keep going, even though my confidence had been smashed by that stage. But I was confident to keep going. So, yeah, that made it back to camp.
Yeah, well, Blake and I were there waiting, and then we saw you come down, and then I heard you yell out. I thought I lost something. I lost it.
I lost it, yeah.
And I was thinking, you lost a deer.
You lost the stag. We're like, you lost him. Oh, do you want us to go help you?
And then I realised that you've been in the water again.
You lost control.
Yeah.
Of your packraft.
Yep. So now I know, I have a visual of the rapids of where my level of pack rafting skill is and where it is not.
So as soon as you see that step down, you pull up and you go around.
As soon as I see where there's like multiple white caps that are 2 and 3 feet tall, that is a no-go.
Or you need to use more talent.
Yeah.
One of the two.
I think I need a bigger pack raft. Yeah. I was going to do that. Yeah. A crash helmet, a life vest, all that sort of thing. Yeah. That was not a wise decision at all. But anyway, so I had to do a breakdown on camp with everything saturated. So all my warm clothes, I didn't even have a shirt. I had to borrow a shirt off Jason just to keep warm for the day. But anyway,
we definitely learned a couple very valuable lessons, I think, in the last few days there, Tobias. And I think you're actually very lucky. Like, they could have gone quite bad, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you definitely had a bit of luck on your side, I think.
Yeah, look, no one can ever accuse me of being a smart person.
You're just pushing the limits. Of what maybe your skill and maybe the pack raft.
Yeah, exactly. And look, one of the things I really enjoy about these sort of hunts is the adventure and going out and pushing your limits, testing your limits, both physically and mentally. But I've got to say, in hindsight, they were some really poor decisions.
Yeah, there's having an adventure, but there's also that they could have been quite bad.
Oh, mate, like I said, if I'd had a leg jammed under a rock or something, I could still be on the bottom of the river. You guys would be searching for a body now.
Yeah.
I could have lost my rifle. It could be on the bottom of the river.
Yeah.
That turns into a very expensive trip.
Exactly.
You spend a lot of time tuning, purchasing. There's a lot of time and effort and money.
Yeah.
And it took a couple of knocks, didn't it, from that?
Yeah, the scope had has a couple of dings on it. So thankfully it's a Night Force scope, so it should be good. But I will be sending it in for a service just to check over. So that'll be.
I think the Night Force will handle it well, mate. It's built tough.
I'm going to, after my involuntary swim the other day, I'd fully intended on disassembling the rifle when I get home and breaking it right down, cleaning everything, making sure it's all good. The scope's going to be coming off anyway. I haven't got another hunt planned until January is the next one, and I'm hoping I'll have the new rifle by then anyway.
Okay, yes.
So,
So I can have that one then?
Which one?
You're the one that fell. I can have that one? Is that how it works?
I don't know if it works that way. Not sure. So anyway, it'll be getting a good service, clean, and the scope will be getting looked at. So a couple of lessons learned, a couple of close calls, and but in terms of the pack raft, for what I purchased it for, what it's actually advertised as the intended purpose of this pack raft is, like I used it well and above.
You think? When we saw you booting down the river through the rapids, we were like, look at this guy. You had your shades on. You were loving life. It was like a kid at Christmas.
That was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see. Like, we were on the bank watching you fly down these rapids, and I think, the confidence just got a little bit too large.
Yep. So
crashing back to reality.
Yes,
Push you back down to reality, literally in the water.
Got drowned back to reality. But
we shouldn't
yeah.
laugh, but it was a very serious thing. But
Yeah.
we're looking at the positives of it all.
Yeah, we can laugh at it now because nobody got hurt.
Well, you went from the screaming beaver to the drowning beaver, so
I was the screaming beaver when I got tipped out. I can tell you, there was language going left, right, and centre. Yeah. But no, for the intended purpose, where we were doing, open water, calm water crossing, light rapids, that sort of thing.
Perfect.
I think it was very well suited for that. Very capable. We were able to haul some, like we had 2 people in it, then one person in a pack, ferrying them back and forth. So worked really well. There was never an issue. There was never any compromise on safety during those times. It was just when
you went lone wolf.
When you went lone wolf, yeah.
When idiots go behind the helm, yeah.
The rogue beaver.
Yeah. The rogue beaver.
Yeah. That's basically
Yeah, got across the other side.
We eventually got packed up, ferried everything back across to the other side with the car, repacked, and pretty much hit the road. Then I had the challenge of driving out on that track, and thankfully it was during daylight hours, so there was nowhere near the pucker factor that I had doing it in the dark the other night. But it was still a bit of a challenge. It certainly wasn't an easy track, and I was even more cognizant of the fact that we were in a rental car with highway tyres, so I didn't want to be scratching or damaging anything. So
Oh, you did well.
yeah, but we got it out, got on the road, and
Spent pretty much our afternoon just driving.
yeah,
We're
just-
probably
just-
about 80k out from Melbourne at the moment.
yeah. So I guess before we sort of wrap up on the hunt side of things, anybody got any comments or anything else about the experience as a whole or to date?
I think from my end, it was a massive learning curve for me. Obviously my first multi-day backpack hunt, but not just a multi-day, like 8 days. I was thrown in the deep end a little bit, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
I learnt a lot about what gear I didn't have, and what gear I should probably upgrade. That was a big one, and obviously just the importance of, it's a pretty common thing, but water, like just knowing where we can get it, and having that filtration system was a make or break, really, wasn't it? Just the portable filtration, water on the run.
Would have been screwed without a couple of filters.
And those squeeze bags, they were awesome. Like, because if we were dehydrated like we were, and we had the drip filter, I think we would have struggled without those squeeze packs and that lightweight filter system.
Yeah.
Because we would have had to literally wait drop by drop, and that was taking a couple of hours to fill a litre bag.
Yeah.
Would you say something like that?
Yeah, it was.
So we would smash a litre pretty quick, like with the amount of we were sweating and stuff. So those squeeze bags, you can pretty much just squeeze all the water into a couple of litre bags at a time. So learning curve there, we just like the importance of water and making sure you got all the filtration system right. Hydration, so bringing more hydration sticks and packs and tablets.
Yep. And something to flavour the water too.
Something just to flavour the water, because like Tobias said in the earlier podcast, the filtration system doesn't filter taste. It filters all the baddies in it, but just the taste still tastes a bit dirty. And when you're dehydrated, you're going to drink it, but it doesn't really feel like it's doing anything. Like, you wanted that little bit of taste there to get, to mask the dirt sort of taste.
Yeah.
So yeah, just either hydration tablets, a little drop of cordial or something like that, just to filter it out.
Yeah.
And then for me, I guess just packing a little bit more food. I was hungry a lot. We were burning like 3,000 to 4,000 calories, I guess, a day, pretty easily.
Some of the big days.
Big days and poles, and and just
Jason's on the poles.
Jason, inside joke, but the hydration side and the food side, just packing probably more protein bars, probably a better breakfast. The backcountry cuisine smoothies are really good.
They were definitely a champion of the trip.
They're really good. I only had like 4 of those for the 8 days, so I definitely missed those on the other 4 days. So just hitting a little bit more calories, a bit more hydration, sticks, and coffee. Coffee for me was a big one.
Unbelievable is not the word I'm looking for, but it's quite significant how much better a warm cup of coffee can make you feel.
It's a mental aspect, I think, too.
The mental aspect, you feel like you're comfortable. You're obviously a little bit more focused because of the caffeine.
Yeah.
And when you have that morning cup of coffee before a hunt, like if we get up before sunrise and you boil the jet boil and you get a coffee on the coffee down you, like that's confidence, and that's like a little bit of motivation, a bit of energy. But when you're still half asleep and you're walking in the hills, it's just especially if you're used to coffee in the mornings, that was a bit of a...
They've done studies about the effect of coffee on people's mood and focus and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
And they even to the point where they had control groups, so they gave a group proper coffee, and then they gave another group decaf coffee. And the group that had the decaf coffee reported a significant improvement still in their ability to focus and be motivated and blah blah blah. And they thought, it's something's not right here. When they gave it to them, they didn't tell them it was decaf. So they actually then retested them, and they gave them decaf and told them it was decaf. And even then, they still reported an increase in concentration and motivation and get up and go and that sort of thing. So that the placebo effect of coffee is immeasurable, because even if it's not real coffee, even you're not getting the caffeine, it's still just that pick me up and whatever you need. So that having a coffee in the morning.
Oh yeah, and it's just a big mood booster, and you just feel like you're focused, you're ready for the hunt. And when it's 5 in the morning and sunrise is at 6, and you're walking in the dark without a coffee or anything like that, you just feel a bit meh sort of thing, like a bit cloudy and that.
Yeah. But even if you've got a coffee to look forward to, you're at the top of this hill here, we're going to sit down, we're going to glass, and we're going to have a cup of coffee. Like the mornings that we were able to do that.
It was just comfort. Yeah, so coffee and then just the power source. I had a 20,000 milliamp hour power bank. Unfortunately, getting the...
We've got a lot of electronic devices nowadays that we're reliant on.
Yeah, well, I've got my Garmin watch that connects with my InReach. I've got my phone. I took my drone as well, and my camera, GoPro. I've got a lot of stuff to charge. Not that I needed to charge my cameras or anything, because they didn't run out.
Yeah.
Drone, because we're getting a little bit of footage of the river in our campsite, and sourcing some water. And just obviously the InReach and my phone were the main ones, because I'm using with the InReach I use the Garmin Explore app to text from, and to mark all my points and pins and stuff. So I was using that a lot more. On airplane mode, your phone definitely lasts longer, and you're not searching for the network. So that was a plus. But I got, we were in there for 8 days, so you're charging it a fair few times. We're relying on sun for our solar. Unfortunately, I've just got one of those little foldable Kings, Adventure Kings
solar
panels, and where the USB part goes in, it broke off getting it in and out of my pack. It just come off, so I had no solar, so I was running pretty low the whole time. So a lesson learned is to probably invest in a decent solar panel and then bring a spare power bank. Sacrifice that weight, because when you're relying that much on
power,
if I was there alone by myself without you guys being able to pinch a bit of solar, I'll be lost.
Yeah.
And we were just lucky with the amount of sun we had, and
Yeah.
like if we hadn't had that, we would have all been out pretty easily.
Yeah, and then if that's our only navigation source, and yes, we can use compasses, and yes, we probably would have found our way out, but it would be a pretty big unknown.
Yes.
Because you're relying on,
You get used to it, don't you? You get accustomed to it.
Oh, just being able to plug something in
Yeah.
and recharge it
Yeah.
and so forth, and then.
Yeah, that's right. And when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cloudy days, and even if it's overcast, you can't see the gullies, you can't see the mountains ahead or which way to go. So
Yeah.
we are relying on it a lot, and
So,
yeah, obviously learn to live without it and learn what to do without it, but also make sure you got backup. That
Yeah.
was a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
So just those little things.
So I want to talk about 2 heroes of the trip and 1 villain of the trip. So first of all, I've got to say, heroes of the trip would be the walking poles.
100%.
would be what? Sorry.
The walking poles.
Yeah.
So Jason, you're now a convert.
So
Brought you over to the dark side.
Jason,
I've been
AKA
hunting for
mountain goat.
Yeah.
I've been hunting probably 20 years easily. I've always frowned upon hiking poles. Hiking poles have always been, I don't need those. I'll be fine. I can just grunt it up.
Yeah.
What a game changer! If anyone's listening to this and hasn't used hiking poles, I would put that as your number 1 list to go out and buy a pair. It is an absolute game changer. The ease and the strain and just the things that reduced from me on this trip was amazing. Like, I will not go hunting again, or backpack hunting without poles. But 2, definitely 2, game changer, 100%, hands down. Buy some, invest in some, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
And just the, I guess the versatility of them as well that Tobias has taught me. And I guess if you watch your YouTube channel, Jason, you might be able to, have the video out there of Tobias demonstrating some of the uses of it. But just for like shooting sticks,
Glassing
being able
off
to
them.
double them up as shooting sticks,
Yeah.
to lower them down and just use them to rest on and that uphill. There's lots of uses for them, and for the weight, you can pack them down and put them in the side of your pack if you don't want to use them.
Yep. Yep.
But when you need them, they're so handy on your knees. They're game changers.
Yeah, yeah. And my tripod setup at the moment, I've modified the tripod so that 2 of the legs are my walking poles. So I have to take 2 walking poles with me if I'm going to intend on using the tripod. It's not a great tripod. I've done that to try and cut down on weight and make the walking poles doubly useful. So not only are they, they're not just a single purpose. But I think for the next trip, I'm really going to look at investing in a good glassing tripod. I've got a good pan head. I've got one of the Tricer pan heads, which I really like. But I think I need to upgrade my tripod now. I'm just at that stage. And even if you want to set up a tarp to shelter under, you can use them as makeshift poles. There's all sorts of uses for you.
Yeah, if we didn't have Jason's Alton tarp, my tent has the annex that pops out that you can use to temp the hiking poles for as well. It's got the loops there, so you can have a little roof for yourself. So if I was by myself, I'd double up as, like you say, a bit of an annex out the front of your tent. There's heaps of uses.
Yeah. All right. And the other champion of the trip, what was I going to... Oh, the drone. Champion of the trip was the drone.
Yeah, I was hesitant to bring it, wasn't I? I was like, oh, should I bring it? It's weight, controller.
But when it came to us trying to search for water and routes through things,
it really helped.
It really
just
helped.
threw it up to see what the lay of the land, to see if a creek did have water in it, and it really helped us just with our route down out of off the tops there.
Yeah.
Well, the route down was, we kind of went on the top of the ridge line, didn't we? And it was a slower descent, which we could have easily made it an extra couple of hour trip if we went the other way, I think, because it was a lot more down and up and down and up.
Yeah.
So
And it was
we wouldn't have known that unless we got down there, really.
Yeah. And just to be able to, confirm that this was actually doable to go down this way, because there was no road, there was no track.
No.
And it would have been really problematic if we had gone down there and then got bluffed out or something. And even though we've got the topographical maps on the app and so forth, the
can't see the
maps,
physical hurdles in front of it.
Don't always show those sort of things, because they're obviously, the lines are in 20-metre increments.
And they were pretty tight through that area anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes, there's a 15-metre cliff that doesn't show up properly on the topography. And I've been caught before, got caught in New Zealand doing exactly that. And it's not big enough to show on the map, so you think you're right, and then you get there and you go,
bluffed out.
Yeah, I need a rope to get down this. So if that had have happened to us and we had to turn around and walk back up, we would have been in trouble, because we didn't have the water to really spend another day up the top.
No.
So yeah, that was definitely worthwhile, and besides the footage that sort of will value add to the
that was
YouTube
really good.
video.
Yeah.
So the villain of the trip, the Garmin InReach, or the Garmin messaging, satellite messaging. I was really, really disappointed with the whole Garmin system. Now, we each have a slightly different Garmin unit. So I've got the Garmin InReach Mini. Blake, you've got the Mini 2.
Yep.
And Jason, you've got the 66i.
Correct.
Right? Now, I'm using a different app to what you guys are, because mine's older technology, but you guys are both on the
Explore app.
Explore app. So
Yep.
mine's Earthmate, I think it is. Now, we tried... Now, every Garmin device has a Garmin address. So when you create an account, you get a Garmin address. And, for example, it's Blake, yours was, XYZ... Blake XYZ 682
2, 3, 4,
or something
5, 8, 9, 10.
at inreach.garmin.com, and the instructions tell us that you need that address to be able to message someone directly to their Garmin device. So I tried messaging you using that address, and it wouldn't go through, it wouldn't work. Then when you sent me a text, it came through as Blake 867 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, unicorn, alphabet, colours of the rainbow, at garmin.inreach.com. So completely different, and nowhere on your device did it indicate that was your Garmin address. So I'm actually going to email Garmin when we get back and have a bit of a go at them about this, because that was really shit.
Yeah.
And it made communication very difficult for us at the start.
Might even be worth chatting to the Garmin rep as well. It comes into the gun shops quite a bit.
Yeah. I'll reach out and I'll see who I can find and have a chat to them about it, because that was super problematic for us. So Jason, yours worked. The address that you had on yours, I punched that in and I was able to send you an InReach message from my InReach. But Blake's, yours was problematic. So I tried typing it, and I eventually found a way through my app that I could copy it and then I could paste it in. Now the second problem was a group message. So,
which is super annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried sending you guys a group message and it came through individually, and then when you replied, it came back to me as an individual response, not in the group message chat chain,
Which
So,
you wouldn't mind, like you say, if it charged you 2 messages, which is fair.
Exactly. I'm happy to pay for 2 messages, but why couldn't it come back into the group chat if that's where it started from?
Because there's so many things that you both need to know. Because I don't know if, what you say, you're talking to Jason as well, and then I've got to also get that information from you as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it was sent from, so you have to send it twice. Because a good feature I did like about it, and me and Jason realised we weren't probably checking that as much, but when you send a text message from it, it gives you, it pins it on the map, obviously, where you sent it from. So that was handy. So every time you wrote back, I knew where you were.
Especially when you're having your issues that we've talked about previously with the, the car and the vehicle and all
Yeah,
that. We actually
we're like,
kind of
you
work
okay?
out where you were, so
Yeah.
which was handy.
It was positive to know that you made it to the other side of the river,
Yep.
and that you were in the car driving, even though you didn't have time to, fully write out a novel
Yep.
to say what's happened. You said, "Yep, okay," and then it was peace of mind for us that, yep, you're safe. That's handy, but like you say, the point that you can't group message is, I think, is crucial.
Yeah, and there were significant delays in the sending and receiving sometimes. Like one day I sent a test message, so there's a address that Garmin provide you, which is a test that will send you an automated response so you make sure that your device is working. I sent a message one day and it was nearly an hour before I got a reply from Garmin to say that this is confirmation of your test message. And same thing with you guys. Like Blake, you messaged me one day to check in, see how I was going, because I was late getting back to camp. And I got back to camp, we were there mucking around, doing whatever needed doing, and then the device buzzes at me, and it was I think it was over an hour.
Yeah.
From when you sent it to when
and
I
it's so
received it.
crucial when, your life's sort of at risk in some ways. Like, you were floating down the river at one stage.
Yeah.
And then we need to know if you're safe. And if you're getting a text like an hour or 2 hours later, like, it's pointless.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I don't know whether this is a Garmin issue specifically or if it's a satellite communication issue. I don't know whether Zoleo is going to be any better, any quicker. I do know that Zoleo has some advantage whereby they give you basically a mobile phone number. So you can give that number to anyone, and that's your number. You don't have to type out a stupid, whatever at garmin.inreach.com email address.
Yeah.
The downside of the Garmin, the downside of the Zoleos though, is they don't have a device yet that you can text from. So the InReach and the 66i, you can still text directly from those devices. It's not the easiest, but it can be done, so that if you lose that link to your phone or you lose use of your phone, you've still got ability to send relevant messages rather than just the pre-formatted ones.
Yep.
So the Zoleo, they're really reliant on you having that connection with your phone. If Zoleo bring out some new technology where you can do that from the device, then I might actually seriously look at changing over.
Yeah.
So the communication, I think, was a bit of an issue that we identified because we had UHF radios, but again, they were reliant on power.
And just the gullies, like you can't get we've got good UHFs, mine's a GME, yours is a Uniden, like
Yep.
high quality, $300-400 UHF handhelds, 5 watts,
and we just couldn't get
still
reception.
couldn't get each other.
Yeah.
You're only, not far away at all.
Yeah, not far
probably
away,
a
but
kilometre.
it was a couple of gullies,
Yep.
and they just weren't receiving or sending. So that was frustrating us as well. But anyway, I'm not sure how to. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, the only next sort of stage is to have sat phones and actually, call each other. But then you've got to carry around the bulky
phone.
sat phone. So
Yeah, no, I think the satellite messenger's the way to go. It's just we need to work out what the problem is and how to avoid it.
Yeah.
Because I was texting my wife, and I'm sure you were texting your partner as well, Jason.
Yeah.
But they were coming through pretty quick.
Oh, really quick.
They were like instant. So
Yeah.
it's something to do with
InReach
device,
seemed to be
Yeah.
the real delay. Yeah, because I was texting my son, giving him occasional updates and so forth, and same thing.
Yeah, straight away.
I got pretty snappy replies.
So I'm thinking whether it's satellite to satellite communicator.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's only going from the InReach to a normal phone service.
Yeah.
So someone that's just going to a mobile number
Yeah.
might be quicker and obviously a lot easier for the network.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So look, I did ask you guys. I gave you forewarning that I sort of wanted a bit of a tip from you that you would pass on to other people thinking about doing this, or before they embark on their next journey. So I guess my sort of takeaway, my tip for people is to not get married to your gear. So, be prepared to change up your gear. If something's not working, if it's not quite right, if it's not fit for purpose, be prepared to to change, whether you've got to sell it on the second-hand market and then buy something new, or whatever you can afford. Don't just stick with something because it's a particular brand, or like I know I've got a lot of KUIU gear, and most of it all works, and it works well, and so that's why I've got it.
I thought you must have been sponsored by them, Tobias, the amount of KUIU gear you've got.
I wish I was. But it was just convenient to buy it all those years ago when getting stuff in Australia was difficult. KUIU was sort of one of the first ones to really open up the whole international shipping. They had good size guides. I like the camo pattern as well. I really do like the Vice camo pattern.
I think he is sponsored, just FYI.
Yeah. Just thought maybe he's a fanboy.
He sounds like it.
Check it out at KUIU.com. So, and now, and when I was in America, we went to the KUIU store as well. So, I was able to try on gear, touch it, feel it, so forth. So, of course, I bought more. So now I've got all this KUIU gear there that, that I'm just going to keep using until I wear it out or outgrow it. But like my merino top, it's taken a bit of a beating on this trip, and I dare say probably this may be its last trip. I'll have to assess it when I get home, but now will I replace it with another KUIU one, or will I look at something else? And to be honest, I'm probably going to look at another brand, simply because this like the Numa brand is now available in Australia, and the gear seems to be good quality. It's reasonably priced, and I can go and touch it and feel it and try it on in an Australian store. So that might be one brand that I try. I might try Stone Glacier because again, it's available in Australia. So that's sort of what I'm saying. I'm not married to the gear just simply because it's a brand. I'm happy to chop and change it. My tripod's another example. I like that tripod because I've sort of made it, adapted it. It was bought at the time when I had a strict budget. I paid $100 for the tripod initially. It was second hand. It's been on quite a few trips with me, but now I kind of realised that it really just isn't exactly what I need, especially since I upgraded my spotter, and I really struggled to get it stable enough to use the spotter on a higher power. As soon as you start getting that shake, even when the wind was blowing, it'd get that vibration to it, and then it virtually becomes useless because you're looking for that ability to be able to zoom in and get the definition on what you're looking at and confirm or not confirm what it is. Is that a stag? Is it is it a wallow? What is it? That's sort of my roundup of this trip. Blake, what are your words of wisdom?
Yeah, I guess, for me, like I said, it was a really big learning curve. My tips for this trip is just the hydration and nutrition. I mean, it's so key. I know that it's a pretty simple thing, but if you're not eating enough, your mood's going to be low, your energy levels are going to be low, and you're not going to want to get up in the morning and go hunting. I had a few of those days where I would wake up and we'd just be on the hike again and getting stuck into it, and I sort of at some points I was running low on energy and couldn't keep up with these mountain goats. So that was due to nutrition. yes, pack fitness wasn't there as well, but nutrition and just having enough food. And like Tobias said, even the comfort foods, just those little comfort things, something to look forward to at night, like a packet of M&M's glassing or a little Mars bar here and there.
Stroop waffle with your
Stroop
coffee.
waffle. Tobias had a good tip. It's Stroop waffle over his coffee in the morning. It was brilliant. Just those little things are important. So nutrition and water, really simple thing, but so crucial because it can make or break your hunt and make your life miserable for 8 days if you are running in a massive calorie deficit. I knew beforehand that I had enough, but I didn't pack those extra luxuries. So I guess my tip from a beginner's point of view is make sure you've got enough food, and I think as a beginner, pack a little bit more and then work it out, rather than just packing what instead of culling first up, cull after your trip, because then you know what you can get away with and what you can't, because it's a big shock to the system when you get in there and you don't have what you're probably used to or what you want. Go luxury first and then cull back from there, I think.
Yeah, within reason.
Don't go crazy, but just add those little, if you think about wanting to add a little Twix bar or something like that, throw it in. Because it's not that much weight, and it definitely will boost your energy levels and boost your comfort, which will hopefully mean you get a little bit more success, because you are not sitting there thinking about what you could be eating and you're looking for deer. And just the hydration levels too, like I said about the sticks and stuff like that, is just making sure you're hydrated the whole time. It's hard without water, yes, but
I think I'm definitely going to investigate
in just a flavour.
Something to flavour the water.
Because what we were doing is we were filling up our bladders, so that was what we were sipping on during our hikes. But when you're sitting there glassing, you want that drink bottle with a hydration to taste nice and feel like you're keeping up with it. Because what we were sipping in our hydration bladder was basically what we're sweating out at the same time. We weren't actually hydrating. So when you're sitting there glassing, that's when you're refueling. And to have your refuel sticks, and a lot of them, they weigh nothing, those little sachets, so just pack a heap.
And that hydration was indicated to us by how many times we were having to urinate during the day.
Yeah.
So you basically went all day without having to urinate.
And that just shows.
And when you did, it was like this.
That just shows
yellow,
radioactive yellow.
Looked like the Hulk was taking this.
So it's two simple things there, and then just making sure you got that right base layer as well. Like wearing that same shirt every day. I was glad that I had the Bushbuck little merino base layer, because I lived in that thing all day, every day. It didn't really stink. It was comfortable.
Champion for that.
It was warm. I'd never wear cotton. I think, cotton would be really bad.
Yep. Particularly
you'd stink,
cold.
You'd sweat, get cold.
Well, cotton, I think the stats are something like cotton can retain 100% of its weight in water.
Yeah.
So
when you sweat, you're just running heavy and cold.
And it just stays wet. And then you end up getting cold, then you end up getting hypothermic, and it's heavy, so cotton's not the material to be wearing for these sort of things.
So just from the beginner's point of view is just that hydration, nutrition, and just get your baseline stuff right, like your merino base layer, thermals, and then just your jackets is just a mid layer, and it's a good little base. That's just my tip.
What I said to you as well, Blake, and coming back to the point you made about your food and maybe overpacking a little bit, when you come on a hunt like this, it is, every hunt I do is learning. I always come out learning something else about either myself or my gear. And it's important to sort of note that down and keep track of that, so that next time you can refer back to it, because it might be 12 months before you do another hunt like this, and you'll have sort of forgotten all these finer points of information. So I always used to sort of either make notes in my phone, or make notes. I used to carry a little notebook with me, in the early days, and I would write sort of stuff down as I went about even just, you know, like what freeze-dried meals tasted good and what didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so
you forget the flavours.
Yeah, you'd have a meal and you go, gee, that one was really hard to stomach.
Yeah.
So you'd write that down. You know, that goes in the do not buy again list, and then you have one that's pretty good, so that goes in, you know, the buy again. But think about, like, what sort of gear did you have to ask us for? What sort of gear did you have to borrow off us?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you saw us doing that you thought, you know, would have been a good idea? And when it, you know, within reason again, because when we're doing a trip like this with multiple people, then what you should be doing is planning your gear so that you're sharing it, so that, you know, there's no need for everybody to bring a stove. There's no need for everybody to bring water filtration. There's no need for everybody to, you know.
But I think there is those personal things too that, you know, you like for comfort and you like because you like it.
Yeah.
Like I saw Jason actually had a really clever, it's just a little, weighs nothing, but like a little sponge scourer, you know, and just things like that just in a zip seal bag, just a little cleaning kit for washing up and stuff, because when you make a coffee every day in your titanium mug, just a quick little wash here and there, you don't get that sticky coffee in the bottom, and it's hard to wash out when you've got no water, and you don't want to use your drinking water to wash up.
Yeah.
So if you can get to a creek or whatever and give it a quick scrub, or just scrub it out with the dry scourer, things like that, I think help.
Yep.
And just save so much mucking around. And just like probably a chucks and a pack of those wipes, just like in a little zip seal bag, weighs nothing, would help you a lot, because you could just your fork, for example, you're using it every day in different sort of meals, and if you're just wiping it over, putting it in your packet, it gets like the dry food on it and stuff like that, oats, gets all sticky. So just being able to clean and wipe and be on the run is crucial. Like I just dealt with it, I just ate with whatever, but just those little things I've jotted down, like you say.
Yep.
And then lessons learned.
Yeah, that's right. So, Jason.
First of all, I just want to shout out to Blake. Blake, mate, you did a bloody great job for your first multi-day backpack hunt. It wasn't an easy one, and you killed it, mate. So, congrats on that, dude. It was cool to see everything from the shooting the deer, mate, just to slugging it out each day. So, really, kudos to you.
And the 500-meter shot, like that.
Oh yeah.
Was credit to you on that, mate, because, like you said, that's the furthest shot on an animal you've ever taken. So
it is. Yep.
And there was a lot of pressure with Jason and I standing there watching you and filming you, and
3 cameras on me.
Yeah.
2 when I break the other one.
No, you did well, mate. Really well done. I suppose that kind of leads us. Blake did mention it briefly before, but probably one of the tips for any listeners out there is pack fitness is king. So, like Blake was saying, it's pack fitness is just a different feeling. It's a different challenge, and until you've actually loaded up with your pack and grunted up hills for K on K on K, it's quite it takes a little bit to get into the routine. So my recommendation or tip is to practice with a loaded pack. Be that person around your local neighbourhood or whatever with if you think you're going to take a 30 kg pack, throw 40 kgs in, or 35 kgs. Really push yourself before you get to that trip, and then it makes life so much easier. So we had some big days with heavy packs up steep hills, and we did well. We just ground away. But especially that first couple of days, it really takes a little bit just to get into the flow, get used to that pack, kind of using those muscles that you don't always use. My big tip is just to get that pack training in, and pound the pavement, pound the hill, pound the stairs around your local neighbourhood, just to get those Ks in.
Yeah.
I actually learned a lot from you too, Jason, with just a couple of things you taught me and Tobias when we were hiking. Like, obviously Tobias has backpacked for many years too, but you were like a mountain goat. We literally called you the mountain goat because you were just charging off ahead, and a tip you gave us was, if you think you can get to that spot, double it. like, and just push yourself to that next spot. And we were sort of doing it and just having little breathers at a time, because you can't physically just charge on for that long. Like we couldn't anyway, but we'd push on and then have a little breather, push on, have little like spurts. And just little tips from you helped a lot with your experience and your fitness.
And look, it's not a race to get to the top of the hill. So if you do have to do it, break it up into sections and so forth, that's all good. But what I noticed with Jason, his technique was basically, and I asked you about this, was you just sort of put your head down and just grind into a rhythm. And when I modified my step and the use of the walking poles as well, and really lent into the walking poles, and timed it with your step. So, right foot forward, left hand forward, and then pull, and then and keep that rhythm going. I actually found, and not taking as big a steps as well.
Yeah.
So you are relieving the pressure on your legs by using more of the muscles in your arms as well to pull you up. And I believe the statistics for using walking poles are it has the ability to reduce the strain or the strength needed in your legs by 20 to 25%, depending on how you use
it. Feels
them.
like
So,
it.
yeah. So I remember when we were walking in at one point, I did that. I was actually doing the Jason technique, the mountain goat technique, and I made it all the way to the top of the hill without having to take a break. So
It's just, you just got that good cadence.
yes,
Where it's just constant break, constant break. But one thing that I did pick up from a beginner, and you guys have wore your packs for a long time, I have, but not that heavy. Like I was running 30 kilos, and it's just the fitment of your pack is important. So important, like it was only like half an inch. My belt pad was, hip belt was only about a half an inch lower, and I was getting, that first day, remember, I was getting that hip flexor pain.
Yep.
It was just loading up on one side of my hip. It was just really painful. It was like I was getting a cramp in my hip, just my right hip, constantly up the hill. And it wasn't my breathing was fine, my legs felt fine. It was just this one particular spot that was cramping a little bit. And then I leant forward, lifted my hips up a bit, retightened my belt, and put more pressure on my shoulders to even out that weight distribution. And almost instantly, pain gone. So don't make that mistake early, because you can burn out one muscle group really quickly, and then you have to deal with it the whole trip. So just get your pack fitted properly, and like I said, I hadn't tried my pack at different heights and levels with that weight. So I was only training with about 20 kilos. So I was 10 kilos. So my, I think it shifted because it pushed my belt down a little bit with that extra weight, and it's put that pressure on my hips. So like Jason said, throw as much weight as you can in and then train, because nothing simulates it other than just doing it.
No, that's right. Yeah, and those Tatonka packs have got quite big hip belt, very padding areas. So you do run the risk of, if you're wearing it like you experienced, Blake, if you're wearing it too low, it is going to restrict that muscle below your hip joint. So you really want it up high. It should basically ride halfway over that iliac crest.
Pelvis,
really sort of suck you in. And that's one of the things I like about the Stone Glacier pack, is it's got the two straps on it, so you can actually have the top strap tighter than the bottom, so it kind of grips in over the top of your iliac crest, and just really sucks in. I still continue to be impressed by that pack and how well it fits me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those individual things. Like I haven't tried too many packs, but I'm kind of used to my Tatonkas now. But there again, that comes back to what I said before. Don't get married to your gear. Yeah, that's right.
I did buy the EXO K4 pack, and I tried that, and I wanted to love it. I wanted it to work, and I couldn't get it to feel as comfortable as I did in my Stone Glacier. And I was prepared to sell the Stone Glacier and replace it with the EXO, but in the end,
Was that because you liked Exo mountain gear? Is that why?
Yeah.
And you've heard a lot of good things about it?
A lot of good things about it,
Yeah.
and I wanted to try something else to make sure that what I was doing was optimal, basically. So, you know, if there's something better out there, then I wanted to give it a go. But I just couldn't love it as much as I loved the Stone Glacier, so I ended up selling it. So they've got a really good pack system. They've got they've got the name, they've got the experience, they've got the quality, they've got the accessories to go along with it. So I was actually quite sad that I couldn't
Make it work.
Yeah, make it work, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's the same with boots. It's a personal fit thing. Your body, it's got to hug your body, and it's got to feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to feel comfortable walking up a hill with 30 kg in it.
Yeah. Well, look, we're probably going to wrap it up very soon because we're closing in on 2 hours, and we're getting close to Melbourne, so we've got to start navigating to our hotel. I'm going to cover off a post-hunt podcast with Blake later on to complement the pre-hunt podcast that we did. We're already talking about planning the next trip and throwing around some ideas of what we're going to do. We're going to go to a different area. We've decided that. We won't go back there. Whether we packraft again or do something different, we'll have to wait and see.
Probably get you to stay clear of the water if that's okay.
Yep.
Give us some less stress.
Might be selling a packraft cheap soon. No, it's all good. I just need to recognise my limitations.
Yeah.
It was horribly fun. When it wasn't dangerous, it was very fun. But I really want to use the packraft in New Zealand, so that's the next goal. So we'll see how we go. Planning another trip. And getting out there again and probably doing something similar, another podcast in the field and on the road.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, and already counting down the days. Yeah,
but look, just to finish up, like I said to you boys, it was a great trip despite not getting a sambar stag on the ground. We had some luck in other ways. It was definitely a trip of not the target species. We saw pretty much almost everything except what we wanted to go in there for. But all in all, it was a great trip, and really enjoyed myself. Loved the challenges. Definitely looking forward to the next one.
Sure. Likewise.
Hey, thank you for listening in. If you'd like to contact me for a chat, pass on any feedback, or have some ideas for future podcasts, please reach out to me on Instagram at australian_hunting_backcountry or email australian.hunting.backcountry@outlook.com.au. For now though, please look after yourselves and your mates.